It feels like we were just here. It's because we are, ladies and gentlemen, we were. I'm Ashton Gene Lewis. This is the one, the only, never duplicated, often imitated Broke Boy Sports Podcast. And I'm here with my co-host, Martin Pape. And Martin, we got the NFL Week 2 to talk about, as it is a Thursday. Sorry, Martin, what day is it? We have to let the people
It is
know.
Thursday, September 17th. It's great to see you. What was it, 48 hours ago? We were sitting right here talking NFL Week 1 action now. We're fast forwarded it to Week 2. Uh, we're moving right along, Ashton. Episode 93.
Yeah, it's gonna
Uh,
be a long season. I can already tell, man. I woke up today and I was just like, oh my god, there's so much work to be done. There's just absolutely eviscerating the Big Ten for caving to all those idiots who don't know how to understand science. There's the NFL week 2 going on where I got to get off these jokes about all these teams who played like complete ass last week and how they all somehow worked their way into primetime slots,
yeah.
even though the more exciting games were not watchable for most people in the Central Time Zone unless you were, home for one of those teams. We got what the NHL Stanley Cup Finals has one of its two members, and
Yeah.
Martin will be sure to tell you about
The
that
Dallas
team.
Stars, the only Dallas team that we are. I guess Ashton is adamantly, respectively, fuck Dallas right now, but we are Dallas Stars podcast. We're looking forward to it. It's They still don't know who they're playing because the eastern side of the bracket still in Game 6, so they've got a little bit of a break. And Ashton, we're going to be talking about that a little later. The fact that there ain't no breaks on the NBA wagon right now, but
So, Martin, we can talk about that in a second, but can I break in here and talk about some UFC news that's going on right now?
well, I know the Covington Woodley fight is going on. Please tell me they got in a fight
No,
or the press conference.
the
Yeah,
press conference going on. Which, by the way, I mean, I'm never gonna root harder for Tyron Woodley than when it comes time to literally cave in Kobe Covington's face. But yeah, Tyron Woodley is answering every question at the press conference with Black Lives Matter. He is also, according to Ariel Hawani, wearing a hat that reads "Make racists catch the fade again."
nice. Hell yeah. Looking forward. This one has been one of the we're gonna get into some more MMA stuff. The episode is going back
It's
because
trending,
Ashton.
by the way. It is literally
That's
it's
awesome.
every other tweet. Also, before we get started, shout out to Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces. She is the MVP for the WNBA. Gotta respect the queen. Went out there and did the damn thing in the playoffs. Also, shout out to Bill Laimbeer for going as long as he did without getting a haircut inside the bubble. He rocked a headband for all the headband boys out there who love it. No, I mean like that old school cotton sweatband headband.
Yep.
That's what Bill Laimbeer was rocking on the sidelines in the WNBA bubble, or the wubble, as those who are indoctrinated call it. But go ahead, Martin. I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you. I had to
no,
say
it's all
that.
right. It's episode 93 going back because Ashton, we found out a couple of hours ago before recording the UFC's heading back to Fight Island, and this card, the not just this card, the month that they have planned out there in Abu Dhabi. Oh my God, we've got Addison. I can't even say his name correctly. I'm the
Oh,
last
you
style
don't need to
bender.
say. It's the last style bender.
Yeah,
Addison Adesanya.
got Holly Holm also going up there on as a main event. We've
Don't
got
forget. Don't forget to mention he's fighting the pretty boy Paulo Costa.
yeah, Paulo
Paulo
Costa.
Costa.
Who else are we seeing? We're seeing the
The
zombie, the Korean
Yes,
zombie.
Korean Zombie. Shout out to him holding it down for all our Asian brothers and sisters out there. The Korean Zombie is a fucking savage in the octagon, and cannot wait to see him get back in there. It seems like it's been a while. He's also fighting somebody he may or may not have some beef with, but we'll talk about that later. And then on top of that, the man himself,
Hmm.
or as Martin likes to call him, the bitch. I wonder if he's I wonder if how the bosses say it to Khabib's face. If
Oh,
we
I would.
when we buy Fight Island, I'll let you fight Khabib on the beach for fun.
I, I,
I
I,
won't. I promise not to live stream it, but I definitely will.
all I'll say is we're big Justin Gaethje fans going into that one. Could be,
Oh,
like I've said, Ashton.
see. This is the best part about this podcast because fuck Justin Gaethje because of what he did last weekend. But okay,
The
Martin knows what this. He saw it. He saw the article. He saw what Dana White and Justin Gaethje and some other guys went. They went to a certain event. So to
yeah,
represent, I guess.
respectively, like you say with fuck Dallas, I'm not going to call Khabib a bitch after what he has been through these past couple of months, losing his father and all of that. So,
R.I.P. to
um,
Papa.
yeah, this will be the one fight he gets off of me calling him a bitch. I'll put that out there. But
You don't
what a
even
lineup!
like Justin, although I will say Justin did tune up Dominic pretty well. I
Yeah, he
can't
did.
lie. Like
Yeah, he
he
did.
beat the fuck. Remember that, by the way, that was one of those fights. If you forgot, Dominic Cruz was grasping for the last bit of hope that he had to stay alive in that fight, which just so happened to be Justin Gaethje's quad, and then complained about it when everybody thought he was not defending himself properly, mainly because he was taking punches to the side of the head, which is the universal sign for I'm not defending myself. Anyway, can't
September
wait for that one, man.
26th, Ashton. We've
Yeah.
got how many? It's the 17th, so not the weekend we're about to have. Next weekend, we're going to be back in Abu Dhabi. Can't wait. And they're going to kick it off with two title fights, remember, because it's going to be Reyes versus Blakowicz. Hopefully, some of the names I just completely butcher. And Ashton knows this for me, dating back to our days doing Fort Bend ISD. Some of the names I struggled with on there. I always apologize to people. I'm terrible with names, but they're starting off with two title fights, and what a lineup we've got, Ashton. But we got a serious topic to talk about here in what's popping in quarantine right now. We've had some fun to start the show, but this is the time where we got to get serious and talk about some shit that's going on right now.
Oh, I guess I get to go first. Yeah, I guess I'll start off as the negative guy, but I just want people to remember I got all of the stories in Best for the Best this week.
Okay.
I claim all three of them. That's right. Three best of the best to the one worst of the worst. It's a rare time where it's easier to find the best of the best than it is worst of the worst. But yeah, we start off here talking about an incident, an attempted murder by somebody in L.A. County, I believe it was. A person ran up to a police squad, a police car, a police cruiser, and shot into the window, hitting both officers, putting them in critical condition. The latest update that I had on this situation is that they are both in stable but critical but stable condition. Somebody, one of the officers was shot in the jaw, I believe, and the other one was shot in the arm multiple times. Thankfully, it looks like both of them are going to make it. This is a situation that naturally is being automatically placed upon the laps of the Black Lives Matter movement, despite the fact that before the George Floyd incident, 40 officers lost their lives in the field, in the line of duty this year, which is horrible to say that anybody loses their life at all. And in particular, you know, police officers who consistently put themselves in harm's way when it comes to trying to administer justice and trying to protect the community for the most part. It's just sad to see that if this is indeed spurred on by the Black Lives Matter movement or by the current unrest which has been created, you could say by a mixture of hate on both sides, but a lot of the hate coming from one direction that triggered the hate from the other side. It's sad to say that it's sad to say that somebody took the message that's trying to be put out there for a fight for equality and took that as an invitation to go out there and attack somebody. And I believe one of the officers is a black woman. So it makes even less sense in that sense of the whole thing. But yeah, my most positive condolences go out to those two officers, and I hope they make it. I'm just letting you know right now, to that dude who did that, my man, if you make it to a cell, you'll be a lucky dude. Because if I tell you one thing that pisses off cops more, it's when you attack one of their own. If you haven't seen that as a running theme when it comes to cops, they kind of all are like on one team together because they have taken on the duty of a very difficult job. And I hope all the, like I said before, hope those cops make a full recovery and are all right. But to the dude who actually did that, good luck, bro. If you make it to a cell, I highly doubt that's gonna be the case for you. They're gonna and you'll be lucky if they beat the fuck out of you, right?
Yeah.
You'll be lucky if they beat you to death. But hey, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, just have a quick take on it. When I read it and saw it, and just like Ashton said, we have no idea if the Black Lives Matter played into it or anything. The movement to end racial inequality had anything to do with it. But one thing that I know and one is an eye for an eye isn't the way to sort out a situation. Um, you seeing some
Violence begets more violence.
exactly like I mean, if you look at let's take the gang wars that and the shootings that happened in Chicago. You hear like why they did it. It's literally in retaliation for the other side doing something to their side, and it's just it spirals out of control. History has proven an eye for an eye doesn't work. So I hope they recover. I hope this guy gets the justice that he deserves in the fact that he goes to jail and all of that. You shouldn't. It just sucks seeing shit like this happen, man. Like it
Yeah, those two officers are somebody that people care about.
exactly.
Fact of the matter is, like I said before, every story I've ever heard about somebody killing a cop, the dude just so happens to magically end up with 17 bullets in his head for some reason. So good luck with that, buddy. What else we got here? So sorry to no way to
Yeah, there's no way to beat around
accurately
the bush.
transition from that one. But yeah, I just wanted to, because on this show we talk about the injustices that are enacted upon Black people on a consistent basis across the country. I just want to know. I just want people to know that me. I know I represent myself. Martin represents himself, and we collectively represent this podcast. I just wanted to make sure that people know that just because I get down with the concept that there are racists, there is problems when it comes to law enforcement, that there have been many examples of police brutality that have ended with the death, and sometimes worse than the death, of the people who were having that brutality enacted upon them. It does not mean that I in any way or anyone here condones violence against the police,
Yeah,
because the issue is far deeper than, oh man, we need to fight back against the cops. It comes back from the origins of what a police officer's job is to do, and the huddle mentality that cops tend to have around each other, each that allows the bad cops to continue to exist, in terms of, hey, that guy's a cop, people stick up for him. And I've heard a multitude of examples from other cops where guys get away with stuff they should not be allowed to continue to be police officers for,
oh yeah,
but they are cops, and so people stick up for them even when they're in the wrong. It's just like a lot of people when it comes to their family. It's just one of those things. But yeah, that's all I want. What's
yeah,
popping in quarantine for me, the term was war, because people are definitely going to take this as an act of war, and there's going to be a backlash of this, and we can only hope that no more lives are lost senselessly, especially when so many people have proven, especially with the current situation with the Save Our Children movement that's going on, how it's being co-opted by a certain group of people, how easily people can be tricked into believing certain things. But go ahead, Martin.
yeah. There's no way to transition out of that. However, our two titles do have one word that is in common, so we'll go with that transition. War. Mine is a totally different type of war. It is a digital war. That is going on between Xbox, Sony, or actually it's Microsoft, Sony, and computer makers, the PCs. Um, So
It's
I
a
think
nasty race.
I've actually talked about the console wars before and what's popping in quarantine, and we're going back to it because it continues to pop up, and every time it does, the I'm not gonna call it my side of Twitter, but like the gaming side of Twitter always it's literally like you can throw a cast out there and reel it in and know that somebody's gonna bite on the bait. So Xbox this past week, since we last recorded on Thursday, or since the last Thursday episode, since we're doing two a week now, Xbox announced their price point for their next console, which is going to be two different versions. The one is going to be $499, and then like a lesser version, I guess, is going to be $299. And people were really excited about that, and so Xbox was winning the console war between Sony and PlayStation 5. So PlayStation, they came back and said, "Not so fast, my friend," and says, "We're going to give you the actual date for your pre-orders." So fans that are trying to decide in between the two are like, "Oh my God, I can pre-order the Sony before I can pre-order the Xbox." Well, that is true. However, businesses like Walmart and a couple others decided to basically take it into their own hands and be like, "All right, Sony, we see your pre-order date. We're just going to have one of our own." And so it's caused a huge bit of confusion. Apparently, some people reporting PlayStation 5s are sold out, even though Sony hasn't even it's so weird to like follow what's going on with this because Sony announced their what date they were gonna do, and then the other companies were like, all right, we're just gonna like today we're recording on the 17th. Uh, Pre-orders started this morning for the PlayStation, and I believe they're already like already sold out. I haven't seen it, but Walmart's like, all right, well, we're just gonna do it in a totally different time and all this stuff, and people are confused. They're not sure what to believe, what to expect, when they can actually get a PlayStation 5 if they want one. And then adding on top of all that confusion, Nvidia, who is one of the most well-known graphics card, like they do a lot of the peripherals or like the stuff inside your computer, I guess you could say. Um, they announced a couple of months ago or a while back that their new line of GPUs, and today was when one of them, the RTX 3080, which is basically like take what the new Xbox and the PlayStation 5 are offering. This is on another level according to Nvidia, and will put them to shame. It and went on sale today, but however, and Ashton, you mentioned this when we were talking pre-show. There's some people out there that literally just sit and figure out ways to basically hack the system.
Hey man, shout out to our guy Michael Sykes who
Yep.
came on the show and gave us the real lowdown on it. Michael Sykes specializes in the shoe culture for USA Today, actually for the win, and he gave us the lowdown on how they, the bots are not only popping on Twitter, the bots are purchasing bots.
Yep.
Go hard in the paint in terms of being able to get multiple orders, hundreds of orders if you do it properly and with the good with proper timing, especially considering bots are robotic. They just relentlessly attack the situation faster than human responses can get to it or whatever. And with the right amount of money, you can be the lucky owner of pre-orders for PS5s and PS5s and Xboxes, and then all of a sudden now you can sell something that, demand is sky high, supply is very low.
Yeah, talking about demand, Ashton. So it was 8 o'clock Central Time, I believe, that Nvidia's new graphic card went on sale for us. Within seconds, people were already saying the sites were down, couldn't get it. One person that I follow on Twitter said that they had the card in their basket, went to click buy, the site crashed, and when it reloaded, there was no card in his shopping cart, and so he couldn't buy it. And then if you go on sites like a resale site like eBay, a $699 price is what Nvidia is selling it for. They're already reselling it on eBay as $2,500. It's fucking ridiculous. And one of the other things is I've seen in a couple of articles. So when you're really hyped for something and they're like, sign up and you'll get a notification when you can buy it. So a lot of people did the notify me emails, right? Well, by the time the notify me emails got sent out, they were already sold out of stock. Like you can't send a notify me like email when they're already like when they're already sold out and stuff. It just doesn't make sense. Like some of the articles, some of the things people are like tweeting out, but you got to give Nvidia credit as we talk about bots and people taking advantage of the system. Nvidia has a crew working to figure out if a purchase is a human or a bot slash scalper.
And in more internet news, Martin, apparently Instagram is down right now.
Oh, boo-hoo.
I just thought, since we're talking about the internet, this shit is like, wow, man. The infinite space and void that is the internet is just under assault right now by people. Like, it's just wild. But yeah, man, they out here hustling hard. Like, these dudes that are out here trying to get their hands, not like you said, the graphics card, of course, will go a long way, especially since we're about to enter a new generation of gaming system and just video games in general, because the games are about to be completely formatted totally differently. And supposedly where we're going now, we cannot come back from anytime soon, because we're moving one step closer to cloud gaming. If you didn't see last night, one of the big cloud server, like one of the big cloud-based data storage IPOs went on for sale, and it sold for like the largest entry of an IPO ever. I think Warren Buffett put like $150 million into it. It's called Snowflake.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like stuff like that. We're moving closer and closer to where, you don't need a terabyte of space. You don't need external hard drives because it's all in the cloud, and we move one step closer to confusing the fuck out of our parents and grandparents again.
We're gonna be there. Like, I can't wait till they bring out the
Right?
technology, Ashton, that confuses us.
When they're just like, yeah, what the fuck did apparently Facebook is down as well.
Oh, so
It's all the Facebook properties,
yeah,
right?
so
That's what it
WhatsApp
is.
and everything is out. So
Let me see.
yeah, maybe Twitter is down as well. Maybe we've got some sort of like DDoS attack going on, but that's what we're
I
we're
mean,
technically still sort of in quarantine right now, Ashton. So that's what's popping in quarantine for me is people, the console wars and the just the back and forth between Xbox, PlayStation, and the PC console. Some people don't call PC a console, but I throw it all in there together. It's just a different
PC
type.
Master Race.
Exactly. PC is the master race. That is what's popping in quarantine. Ashton, let's move on to, like you said at the top of the show, you got three best of the bests.
Yeah, man. I'm the positive guy. Yeah, don't forget that,
Oh,
guys.
okay.
Don't like when you're making your assessments about who's the positive guy in the podcast this week. Don't forget your boy Ashton hooked you up with 3 positive stories that'll make you feel good today. Maya Moore got married to the man that she helped get out of prison after he was in prison wrongfully for a crime he did not commit for 23 fucking years.
Yeah.
I'm 28. That is fucking insane. They took 23 years away from a person's life. And shout out to Maya Moore, not only an MVP on the basketball court, but a game changer for a lot of people. Saved this man's life, and apparently he's gonna be a part of her life for the time being. They got married, and the photos are on Instagram and all kinds of stuff like that. And she's also him and her are now going to be spearheading the movement towards a better world where we start to fight against people who are wrongfully incarcerated for crimes they didn't commit. So you'd be surprised, apparently, how difficult that is to get cases reopened.
Ashton, I have two little lighthearted takes for this one. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that this happened, but no disrespect to Maya and her husband. When I first saw the article, I saw the pictures, I honestly thought it was an Onion article because I just couldn't believe it. Like,
it sounds very unrealistic, and trust me,
you
not only you, all of Black Twitter went like kind of ham on it. And I was just like, I mean, who am I to judge? Who are we
exactly.
to judge?
Like, you fall in love with the person you fall in love with, right? But so that was my first takeaway. And then once you see that it was real, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like she fought for something. She met this guy. He proved that there was, what was it? There was fingerprint or like some DNA that the courts at the time didn't allow in to question, even though it should have been.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, pretty much what it was.
And
like
so
they said that he was like a part of an armed robbery that ended up with somebody dead, right? And that's why he was in jail. And he wasn't even there.
Yeah, there's DNA evidence basically that wasn't allowed in court that proves this guy is innocent or didn't actually commit the crime. So they met, they fell in love. I mean, honestly, if I was in jail for 23 years and a good-looking woman who just happens to be one of the best at her craft helped me, you're damn right. And we hit it off. You're damn right. I'm fucking putting a ring on that. Like, you know what I'm saying. And my other lighthearted take from it is, please tell me "We Found Love in a Hopeless Place" by Rihanna was their first dance song. Like, because that is like, if that's not a hopeless place, being in jail for 23 years for a crime he didn't commit, that's a hopeless place for me. And they found love. So shout out to them. Anybody out there that I'm still single, just put my hand. We've talked about this last.
He's not racist anymore. He doesn't hate people
He's not
anymore.
racist anymore. Wait. When have I ever been racist?
I don't know. You tell me, Martin. Nah. He okay. See, Martin's the kind of guy that respects WNBA players, but does not pretend that he watches the league on a regular basis.
Exactly.
That's a different level of guy. See, high quality human beings. There you go, ladies. Hit him up on Twitter at Martin Pape
at Martin
_
Martin Pape _ It's a Y instead of a 9. My parents named me weird. It is what it is.
Name me weird. Moving on. Next story here. Ron Rivera went out here and got this dub while also fighting cancer. He got like an IV at halftime to make sure that he would stay properly hydrated. Which, by the way, if you know anything about the health of football coaches at all levels, it is terrible. Don't let Cliff Kingsbury, his amazing physique, fool you. The health, typically, because of the immense amount of stress that goes into being a football coach, is typically terrible on the lifespan of a lot of football coaches. That's why you see stuff like where Joe Paterno, he stopped coaching for literally a month and then died.
Yeah, and then you've got Kubiak. The pressure of
Who's
the
I
pressure.
think he's had he's what is it? He had to be carted off the
Yeah,
field twice.
he had a heart attack
Yeah, heart
leaving
attack.
at
Yeah.
halftime of the Texans game. I was there. I remember seeing it and just the players and everybody's heading to the locker room, and then you just see Kubiak just literally just fall over, and the doctors and Kubiak said it. The pressure of, I mean, Houston sports fans. I mean, like when people say Houston sports fans are fucking wild, that is one of my prime examples. They're so crazy that they gave a guy a heart attack for trying to get him to win some football games. And but like like you mentioned, Ron Rivera, one of the great one of the like one of the coaches that, like, if I were a player and I was a free agent, he's one of those coaches. He's kind of like Steve Carroll. I would seek him out to play for him if he was my coach.
No doubt. And like I said in the note that I wrote below, the Panthers were fucking idiots for getting rid of
Oh,
Ron
for sure.
Rivera.
Yeah, I don't know what they
I
were
think
thinking.
I think a lot of people. He's one of the few coaches in the NFL that everybody just kind of universally likes. His mentality and his approach to everything. If you recall, earlier on this show in quarantine, I mentioned how he gave an opportunity to a black woman who wanted to be a football coach in the NFL. Gave her an opportunity. She started off as like an intern for the Jets, and now she's on the coaching staff with the Washington football team because Ron Rivera is all about. He felt like what is it? He paid for lunch. He paid for food at the Women's Football Coaching Association conference because he wants to show support to a group of people who just out here grinding like everybody else. So Ron Rivera is one of the real ones, man. And if you've noticed anything about the past couple of months, Ron has been taking heat that I'm not gonna call him a despicable name. Been taking a lot of heat that one Dan Snyder should be answering for and been the face of the organization when Dan Snyder should be answering questions because he has no problem with cashing those checks at the end of the year, every single year for millions of dollars, right? But never is held accountable for anything that he's done, especially in the past like couple of years, especially in his time owning the team, and then recently when it comes to the multiple sexual harassment allegations that have come out. And Martin, they brought up that stuff that we mentioned before again. I don't know if you saw that a couple weeks ago.
No.
We've talked about it on the show before where they had the cheerleaders go take
Oh yeah.
the basically nude
The island, yeah,
calendar, the
the
island
that
thing.
weird,
Remember,
yeah.
remember we talked about that
Oh
where they
yeah, I
were like
remember it.
the sponsors were there and they were like creeping on the chicks and everything like that, and they were like paying to take them out to dinner so they could hang out with them and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever. Fuck you, Dan Snyder. If you see Dan Snyder in the streets, it's one of my favorite phrases I made up on this podcast. You see Dan Snyder in the streets, you tell him I'm looking for him.
Yeah.
He won't know who you're talking about, and that's exactly how I want to keep it.
It is fitting
Anyway,
that the football team's first head coach is Riverboat Ron. Like you said, favorite coach. Everybody loves playing for him. Never really. I can't tell you I've ever heard anything negative about Ron Rivera. There's some coaches that'll have like a stigma everywhere they go, or like players don't want to play for them. I've never heard that about Ron, and he's got one of the best nicknames, Riverboat Ron. Anybody that doesn't know, it's basically in reference to when he was early days of the Carolina Panthers head coach. He'd roll the dice a little bit. He'd go for it on fourth downs when other
he's here
teams would
for a
have punt.
good time, not a
Exactly,
long time, baby.
exactly.
That's what it.
Yep.
That's shout out to Riverboat Ron, and as we mentioned before, we heard about his cancer diagnosis as if 2020 could not be
Yeah.
a bigger fuck you in the face of human history ever. We root for Riverboat Ron, and not necessarily the Washington football team, but Ron for sure, at the heart of it all. Shout out to him. They got a matchup coming up this weekend. I think they're playing another shitty team. We'll talk about that. We're doing NFL picks towards the end of this team.
We will not be standing for any Arizona Cardinals discrediting right now. But really quickly, um, Ron Rivera has won, or he hasn't won, but he's been a winner. His teams have went to the Super Bowl. He was the defensive coordinator for the Bears when they had to go up against Peyton Manning when they had Rex Grossman as their quarterback. Obviously
Wow.
took to
You
the
want to talk
Panthers.
about a miracle, right?
Yeah,
Getting Rex
exactly.
Grossman to the Super Bowl.
His
Devin
defense.
Hester
Yep.
with the first ever opening Super Bowl opening kickoff for a touchdown, ran back for a touchdown.
Yep. He also winner at Carolina when he went. He took that team. I think it was 3 or 4 straight first place finishes in the NFC South. Took the Cam Newton and his team to the Super Bowl, where they lost to
Peyton
it
Manning.
was Peyton Manning as well, right? Wasn't
The
yeah.
only person Peyton Manning is now. By the way, shout out to Peyton Manning. He's a Hall of Fame NFL Hall of Fame nominee. Which, by the way, if you wanted to feel old,
He's
Peyton Manning's about to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
yeah.
It's been
So
5 years since he
that's
stopped
crazy.
playing for
It's
the
really been
Broncos
5 years.
and gave a shout out to Budweiser and Papa John's as his last farewell. He's just like, hey, I got to get this He's like, I got 2 twins on the way. I got to get this retirement fund going and making sure these kids are taken care of and all that jazz like that. By the way, does he still do those Papa John's commercials?
I haven't
Or he
seen
don't
them.
fuck with
I don't think he fucks with Papa
Papaciano?
John. Yeah, I think he
I
still
don't.
owns the restaurants, but I haven't seen those commercials
But
at
you,
all.
yeah, Papa
Which
John's is in full like recovery mode because they got
yeah,
Shaq doing ads for him. So
yeah,
they're like, everybody loves Shaq.
yeah. But all the best to Ron Rivera. We're not Dan Snyder fans, but we are Ron Rivera fans. So that's going to be one of those things that the football team keeps winning. Where like it's going to be one of those weird areas. Like you want Ron Rivera and the players on his team to do
You
well,
hope
but you
for the
don't want.
utmost downfall and failure of Dan Snyder,
Yeah,
and you also want Ron Rivera to win the Super Bowl this year.
yeah.
Like at the same time,
Ashton,
is there a
yeah.
way? If there's a year to figure that out and make that happen, it's 2020.
2020, yeah. Ashton, let's get this third best of the best because these stories are all really good. Um, take it away for the third and final best of the best for this week.
Man, Boston's a sports town. A lot of people try to say it's it's title town USA because of all the successful teams that they've been able to put together from the New England Patriots, the Boston Bruins, and then of course the Boston Red Sox being the second most winningest team in the history of Major League Baseball. Combine that with the Boston Celtics and their utmost domination of the early NBA, and of course with the big three with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. Shout out to those legends and everything like that. But the other aspect of it, one of the more underrated parts of it, is some of the coaching that's gone on. Brad Stevens, head coach of the Boston Celtics basketball team, as some of you may or may not know, saw an article from the Boston Globe today that was in response. The Boston Globe wrote about something that a lot of people, if you live in the South, if you live in Texas, may not be aware of because it doesn't hit people as harshly down here as it does in the Midwest, where when winter rolls around, you stop seeing the sun. Like the daylight still happens, but you're not getting like direct sun rays anymore because of the immense cloud cover and everything like that. For some people, that triggers what is called seasonal depression, or depression that is centered around the lack of sunlight, or depression that is centered around traumatic events that are directly correlated to loss of family members because it is the holiday season. So what's worse than getting around a time that is literally advertised to be about enjoying each other, being kind to your fellow man, enjoying your time with your family, where everybody's excited to go out of town to go see their mom and dad, and you don't have your mom or your dad. And it's a situation that a lot of people in America, a lot of people in the world deal with. And Brad Stevens took some time and on Twitter wrote some simple words, and not saying that it's gonna just revolutionize the way that we think about mental health or revolutionize the way that we approach people with depression and seasonal depression, because it's just a tweet, but I feel like it goes a long way. It was real positive and he didn't have to do it. I don't know if Brad Stevens has suffered from it himself, but he took some time out of his day to write. If you're struggling, he quote tweeted the Boston Globe article. If you're struggling, you aren't alone, and there are people that can help. Asking for help shows courage, and you are far too important not to ask. So yeah, shout out to Brad Stevens.
Yeah,
Real simple, real nice, man.
I was literally gonna say that. I mean, the timing of this less than a week after Skip Bayless goes after Dak for showing his some courage in his struggles that he's had the past couple of months. As somebody that is for until recently fought my own dark battles. I've got friends that battle their dark thoughts. Um, all credit to Brad Stevens. Those were the can't say more than what he said there. I mean, if anybody out there is listening and having a tough time, there is somebody there willing to listen. You, it is it's one of those subjects that nobody wants to talk about because it's so real. But if um, yeah, hit me up, hit Ashton up. We are here for you. We're here for everybody that is going through dark times. Shit sucks sometimes, man, and like
Doesn't
depression
mean
is
that it
yeah,
has to suck alone, though.
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't
Yeah,
mean that
yeah,
you have to suffer alone.
yeah.
That's the important. You know, I I have, of course, everybody has people in their life that suffer from, just whether it be clinical depression or like high level anxiety, right?
Hmm.
Uh, it just comes down to sometimes if you, especially if you're the person who's not in that state, because it is a thing that wanes in and out for a lot of people, and it can be triggered by nothing whatsoever. Sometimes
True.
being there for people goes a long ass fucking way. It
Yeah.
goes just being there goes a long way, man. It really does, and um, that's what Brad Stevens was saying. He was just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, man, he's like, I don't even know you, but I know you matter."
Yeah,
So,
and there's a
yeah,
stigma out there, and Skip Bayless hammered it home that that stigma is still alive. That men aren't supposed to show any type of weakness or emotional anything. I personally think we're at a time where that's bullshit. If you're struggling, if there's thoughts in your head and stuff, just talk to somebody. Somebody is there, willing to listen, willing to help. Um, yeah, I can't say it enough. I mean, I've been in my own dark place, and so it sucks. And for Brad Stevens, he didn't. It's one of those things. Ashton, I've said this a lot on different things. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to
right.
say. He didn't have to let people know that his thoughts on it, but he did anyways because he cares, and there's other people that care, and yeah, that's the
Don't
best of the
forget that.
best. Yeah.
Don't forget that, man. Best of the best. Shout out to Brad Stevens, a real G.
Yep.
Almost makes you want to root for the Celtics, but everybody's definitely rooting for the Miami Heat.
Yeah,
Like,
I think we're gonna be talking about that in a little bit when we get into NBA playoffs. I think Ashton might be buying as many Miami Heat products as he can.
yo, man, I'm not gonna lie. So Martin, and quick turn of change here, been on the Fanatic store for like the NBA store or whatever.
Uh,
The Miami Heat, the Vice stuff, like the
oh, I
Miami.
love
First
it.
of all, the shorts are so fucking expensive. I think it's like $120
Oh
for a
my
pair of
God.
shorts. But the slides, like the house shoe slides,
Mm,
those are fire, bro.
okay.
And they're only like $35. So if you're one of those people, go check those out. They are legit. Those are on the way here for your boy.
Ashton
Yeah.
already
So
getting in on the Heat hype. I love it.
man,
I love it.
I love, and I'll say this to the day I die, man. And it's not exemplified by the teams that I root for, but as a person who has said many times on this podcast, my favorite football player is Bobby Wagner,
Mm,
middle linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks. Guess what, guys? I'm a big fan of defense. Like I love good defense no matter where it is, and I get it. That makes me the weird guy because, quite frankly, defense was the only thing I was ever good at as an athlete. And because for the most part in sports, defense is just literally being in the way of somebody else. And if there's something that a fat black guy who's pretty wide is good at, it's being in the way. So I'm all about the dudes who specialize, who are professional getting in the wayers defenders. Anyway, I'm
it-
about the culture, bro. I'm about Heat culture. Also, I've been listening to way too much Dan Lebertard show. I listen to it every day now.
we moved right along to worst of the worst. I've got it this week. Uh, this one, when like when I woke up on Tuesday morning and saw this trending and saw this what happened, it was another. I thought it was like another. This is only in the Onion, which is for those who don't know the Onion, it's a satire website that like puts out news and sport. Like they do sports now, and it's all made up and made up, and people still believe it and think it's true, and they'll even share it on their feeds and don't realize that the Onion is a fucking. They literally are just troll. They love trolling people that believe anything. And so I
Big
thought this one
facts.
was another troll article. This guy who I will only be saying his name once. Dan McNeil, he's a talking head, radio talking head in Chicago.
Was.
Or true was lost his job because he thought that Maria Taylor's outfit, and he tweeted this, pressed send on this. He thought Maria Taylor, who was the sideline reporter for Monday Night Football, the Steelers Giants game, said that she was dressed more for hosting the AVN Awards, which, if you're not deep into the porn industry and know what AVN Awards is, it's literally the Adult Video News Awards. That she was dressed more for that than being a sideline reporter on Monday Night Football. Uh, what? uh, that was like, again, once I found out it was true and this guy actually tweeted that out, my first reaction, and what's really funny is I wish Ashton and I had been recording on Tuesday when we were talking about this story, because literally we jinx, like, you remember back when you were in elementary school and you jinx somebody and have to get you a Coke. Ashton and I literally said the exact same thing about Maria Taylor. She is a queen.
Yes.
She is a queen. Like, literally, like, when Ashton was like, "Did you see this article?" I was like, "Yeah, Maria Taylor," and literally Ashton at the same time says, "Is a queen," as I said, "is a queen," because that's what she is. And Ashton, for people that don't know, could you do a little explanation of what it means to be a queen? What like what that word means for some of the people that
Oh,
may not
so
know?
I mean, for so like the recent rise of it is like a lot of it's really a tool used to appreciate black women who are like appreciate black women who are clearly the best in what they're doing or soon to be the best in what they're doing, because there's been so many years, decades, centuries really of just the oppression of women in general in America and just the world in general, and in particular black women, because not only for a really long time, well, many could argue things have not changed. Not only, Martin, is it bad to be a woman in some people's eyes, it's even worse to be black and a woman to a lot of people, right? Because it's almost like the polar opposite of what dominates the world around us, right? White men, black woman is like the polar opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, they take a lot of heat for having a ton of opinions. You look at like the likes of Jamil Hill or Ava DuVernay, or you look at like women like Issa Rae, who clearly have talent that is far beyond other people around them, and they just kind of don't get their respect at certain points until other people speak up for them and give them the classification and give them the validation of like knowing that other people are rooting for them, and like the universal call sign is like calling that woman a queen because like she runs shit around here. And if you don't know anything about ESPN, Maria Taylor dominated on the SEC network, along with, Lisa Salters, of course, a true legend in the game herself, whether it be on E60, which I hope they are coming back soon. I haven't
Yeah.
seen any E60s in a long time. They always do a killer job on that one, and Lisa Salters does as well. And I hope they're coming back soon. There's other situations as well where, you talk about Lisa Salters on the sideline, you talk about Pam Oliver and everybody else. There's a lot of black women who are in sports media. Taylor Rooks was recently heavily disrespected by somebody on Twitter as well. Taylor Rooks was the woman who asked Jonathan Simmons I'm sorry, Jonathan Isaac, that exposed him when he was just like, yo, why, like, do you think Black Lives Matter? And he said, Jesus, 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 all lives matter, and muttered that underneath his breath. But yeah, Taylor Rooks is the one who's been pushing the envelope. Jamil Hill is the one who's been pushing the envelope on a lot of people because she called out the president long before it was ever a popular thing to do when it came to talking about Donald Trump. Taylor Rooks, who has been literally came up from the mud of Clark Atlanta University to go on and dominate and become a huge part of what Bleacher Report was doing inside the bubble. She has her own show now. Maria Taylor is dominating when it comes to talking about football and sports in general as a personality for ESPN. And the term, instead of giving that long spiel that I just gave, you just say queen.
Yeah.
You put the crown emojis on them. That's all it really comes down to. So yeah.
When you say a black woman is a queen, everybody knows what you mean. She is excelling. She's one of the best at what she does, and it just so happens this isn't a requirement. It just so happens that Maria Taylor is very good looking. She is a gorgeous woman.
This is facts. Big facts.
So here's one of my takeaways from it. So she does Monday Night Football, right? Sideline reporter turned around after this happened, like the tweet came out during the game. She turns around. She gave a response. The response, I don't know if she even needed to respond to it. Because I remember Michelle Obama saying, when they go low, we go high. Um, she could have taken that route, but no. Instead, she addressed it straight on. But still, like you said, she, she killed. She's killing it. She's literally like step by step going through the process at ESPN from the SEC network, now doing NBA Countdown, now doing Monday Night Football. And what is like, and you brought it up. Why do we care who it is giving us like who's talking to it? Like, why does it matter?
Oh, because Martin, it's just like when you're making an argument to somebody and they start correcting your grammar.
Yeah,
Like when like they're like, oh well, you're not your, and it's like, all right, cool. So like actually address the point that I made and the
yeah,
statement that I made, because we're both smart enough human beings to understand what I actually meant. And when you don't have anything to say about a person, when you don't have anything to say about a person and you can't really attack them, you find like the smallest thing on the face of the planet. And his thing was like, Maria Taylor's in good shape. Man with no chin said. Uh I don't like that. So when she wears clothes that are form fitting, instead of wearing a tarp or a toga when she's on air, I don't like that. It makes me feel tingly in my penis.
yeah.
So
Very weird. A couple of more points before we move on from this. When did a woman showing her like? Why is it when you see a woman's
it's
shoulders?
because dudes are soft, bro. Like
It,
straight up.
it's
Like people are soft.
they
Like
think
they're like like the body of a woman is the most threatening thing to some dudes on the face of the
it,
planet, and it shows.
exactly.
Like it is so funny to me. I'm like, yo, she literally like dudes that walk around with no shirt on at the beach with their belly hanging over their swim trunks, dog, trying to talk about you showing some shoulder skin.
So shoulders, dude. Like what? How did shoulders be like sexy? Like I mean, I understand it. Maria Taylor looks good. Like
It's
if you
what
go look
happens
at
when you sexualize women at a very young age,
yeah,
or when you sexualize women immediately because you are sexually aroused. So naturally, everything that they're doing is sexual because you see it through that lens, right?
yeah. Like for those that haven't seen it, Maria Taylor is wearing all black, either black leggings or like just a, I don't not yoga pants. It didn't look like yoga pants, just black pants, a black leather jacket, and with it had two straps over her shoulders, so her shoulders were exposed. Oh my fucking god! So here, this guy, former radio host, um, didn't really do too much
He'll
digging
be
because I
working to
don't.
outkick the coverage in no time, Martin. Don't worry.
I didn't do too much digging, but if he has ever been married, I guess he doesn't like when his significant other dresses up, right? Because if Maria Taylor can't wear a leather jacket, heaven forbid that his significant other ever wears some fucking lingerie because
Yeah,
he
his
is
wife
just gonna be
definitely wears a
fucking pissed
tarp
off.
all
Like
the time.
he,
His daughters wear long trash bags. You can't even see their ankles, as far as he's concerned.
and
He believes that wearing a suit is revealing.
yeah, it's what's weird is the outfit that Maria Taylor wore is literally something you would see any woman in out and about in their normal day life. It doesn't it like I had to when it I went and did a search and God forbid my people click see my recent search history right on Google after this came
Or
out.
just search history in general. Like, let's be
Yeah,
honest, guys.
it's
Like,
a little it's a little
I mean,
rough.
if you ever have a will in testament, make sure part of it is nobody gets anything until they delete my search history forever.
So if you go and look at the AVN Awards and the hosts that have hosted it and the things that they have worn,
Asa Akira hosted the AVN Awards with literally like her boobs out,
yeah.
like
So
just her, like her,
yeah,
like her cert, like
yeah.
she had just gotten breast implants,
Mhm.
and Kanye West was in charge of the wardrobe, and he was just like, "You get a dress that stops underneath your boobs."
Yeah,
So
it's interesting to go look at the pictures of actual hosts of the AVN Awards and then look at what Rhea Taylor wore because the AVN hosts. And here's the thing, I am pro sex worker, sex industry, all that stuff. Do you boo? Uh,
as long as you're doing it safe and everybody's consenting, what
exactly.
is
Like there's no, I'm not slandering the hosts or anything, but they are wearing a lot more revealing and skin tight outfits than what Maria Taylor wore. And then One last thing, Ashton, I think you and I both agree on this. He knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah, I
He
mean
he
without a doubt.
he did this on purpose. He knew it would go viral. He knew the times that we were in. Um, I don't think he knew. I don't think he even thought about losing his job. But he knew his name was getting out there, and that's why we're not saying it, except for the first time when we bring the story up, because he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what would happen when he pressed send, except for the fact that he would lose his job. And
And everybody in the comments is all the people who just so happen, all the people who complain about cancel culture and why it's wrong and everything like that. And then followed by those comments is people who are like, yeah, but cancel culture is literally to hold people accountable for fucked up things that they do that the law can't cover.
yeah,
It's literally us governing each other in the society that we exist in. If cancel culture doesn't work if multiple people don't find what that person did reprehensible. It doesn't matter like what their history is, and like I get it, like good people do bad things and bad people do good things every once in a while. As a matter of fact, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on when one Dana White. So it's one of those things where it's like you get held accountable for your situations. Like you don't get to talk to anybody or talk about anybody and what they're wearing and what they're dressed like and how you feel about what they're dressed like because like once again, like we mentioned before, it looks like that to you because you view Maria Taylor in a sexual manner,
hmm
not because she literally walked onto the set buck ass naked.
yeah,
She literally is like dressed, she's wearing clothes.
yeah.
And
She's wearing a
your
leather
biggest complaint
jacket.
is like, she reminds me of a porn star.
Yeah,
Um,
that one
so yeah,
it
man,
doesn't add
that's
up. He knew what he was fucking doing. He wanted to go
yeah.
viral. He wanted his name out there. And it
I bet he
happened, and
knows
it
what he's doing
backfired.
now too. He's probably trying to get one of those pre-orders for an Xbox or a
Yeah,
PS5, man.
yeah,
Because he's gonna be at home for a little while there.
yeah, and
Like I said, he'll be. Don't worry, guys. He'll be working for Outkick the Coverage with Dr. Clay Travis in no time. Don't worry.
yeah. So let's move along from that one. Worst to the worst is comparing Maria Taylor's outfit to the host of the AVN Awards because it just doesn't make sense. So Ashton, our next segment is about a week ago.
But we first of all, update on Bobby Shmurda.
uh-huh.
If anybody has one, please let us know.
Yeah, we're still waiting to hear what's going on with our boy. So Ashton, you've got this one in here. You've got a deep dive that you're about to get into for this subject. So I just want to jump in really quickly. So last week, Big Ten football was canceled. This week, the Big Ten football is returning in October. And before we get into what you want to talk about, I just want to mention this is my takeaway from it. They saw how other college teams and NFL uh, I'm I'm putting air quotes in this succeeded. Um, just a case in point, one case in point, the Texans and Chiefs, no players or coaches tested positive for the coronavirus. We're still waiting for the
Nobody
Sunday
has
games.
tested positive tonight for Thursday Night Football either.
Yeah,
So good job, everybody.
there was a field crew member for the Chiefs that tested positive, but that person was never around
I
any
hope that's
players
not
or
my boy
coaches.
Billy Quatch.
I don't know. I don't know
I
if
need
they
to hit him
released the
up real
name,
quick.
but they. I'm gonna say it's been a successful return in the early weeks. We still got months to go into, or about what 4 months of football before we can get to the end and say if it was a success or not. Um, there's obviously challenges like money that Ashton's about to address, but we're 9+ months into the coronavirus, COVID, and being intertwined with sports, and I think one of the reasons they made this decision is because there's more information available to them now than a month or two ago when they compared to a month or two ago when they made the decision to not play. Um, and there's more things that the players and the coaches need to be aware of um, with the virus, like the symptoms and stuff like that. And
Or knowing that in the case of Liberty with
mhm,
Hugh Freeze, that just because you don't show symptoms doesn't mean you don't have coronavirus.
yeah,
I know
uh,
that was a difficult concept for him to really understand there for a second, especially when he said, "No, we haven't been testing people for 2 weeks because nobody's shown symptoms."
yeah, that's
Because
just that's a silly statement. Just because you're not showing symptoms, like Ashton
that
said,
happened. That literally is a man that was charged with leading men.
yeah,
He's literally a person who was asked to guide young men, and he said, I'll deal with the problem when the problem occurs, not do the things to prevent it from occurring.
yeah.
We'll deal with it when it happens.
Yeah. So college football has been back for a couple of weeks. NFL week 1 is in the books. Ashton, I loved every second of the football I watched this weekend. The only thing missing from this past weekend was the early morning Big Ten football game when you wake up and you've got Iowa versus fucking Northwestern on your TV. It's 3-0 going into the fourth quarter, and as as boring as it was all the time, like every time you turn it on and you find Big Ten games boring, it's still football, and that was the only thing that I can say was missing from the obviously the crowds. Even though we had they somehow got fans into the Denver Broncos game, even though everyone was saying the Jags were the only team to have
You sure they
fans.
weren't just horses?
No, there was like
By the
500
way,
fans or something in
the
Denver.
Titans announced that they'll be having fans
Okay,
starting October.
that's interesting.
So yeah, um, it'll be interesting, especially considering that the theories about COVID-19 connection to weather still haven't been debunked, because a lot of it was when the warmer months arrive, it'll be more difficult for COVID-19 to exist on surfaces, thus reducing the number of people who have been harmed, which you could argue is kind of true, but you could also argue that we've learned better ways to prevent it from spreading and for people to be out and about. But cases are still happening. Don't forget that, people. On a general curve, you look at the general curve that's going on in America. Thankfully, right now, we live in a time where the number of cases are going down. Not thankfully enough, Texas announced today that because of the cases going down, people can now be at 75% capacity inside of buildings. That would have been dope if literally the night before, Texas Monthly hadn't released an article saying that they actually miscalculated the number of positive cases to people being tested.
Yep.
Anyway, you should check that out. You do that. You do you. I'll be inside for the most part. Be outside. I'll be outside to get food and stuff. I will not be touching or talking to any of you unless it's on Twitter. So good luck with that, guys. Martin, about a week ago, Big Ten football was still being clowned by people on Twitter. This week, they're still being clowned by people on Twitter, but it's mostly the numbskulls that are like, ha ha, look, we finally got what we wanted, regardless of what happens. And now everybody gets to compete safely and all this kind of stuff like that, despite the fact that, like I said, even when it came out that they were canceling college football and the SEC and the Big 12 were not, I came out in favor of what had been done on both sides, because really what the problem was is that the players could not be kept in isolation from the other students.
Mm-hmm.
The other students who were showing up on campus and then going off campus to do whatever, go to restaurants, go to bars, more importantly, go to frat parties and, do whatever kids do at frat parties, which in some cases is some wild ass shit. But for the most part, it's just drink beers with people in the same room who you do or do not know is infected, right? And that's what's really been the big problem for most major universities across America. The Greek life has been basically the source of all of their COVID-19 cases, because people will go off campus where they cannot be regulated by the school to go have fun at parties and shit like that. And if you know anything about frat houses, shit ain't clean in there.
Not at all.
I doubt. I dare to say there's some of these frat houses that have not seen a Lysol wipe in about 20 years. Doubt they got any now. But yeah, that being said, man, I went through and I saw the Big Ten is coming back October 15th, I believe it is.
Yep.
That week is supposed to come back. And my first thing was, I'm not smart enough to make this decision. I feel like there are people who are way smarter who are making decisions for them. Those decisions may or may not be influenced and biased towards the money. But nonetheless, those decisions have been made. Hopefully, they're putting the resources that are needed behind it to make sure that every single one of the college football players that we started off the season with is there at the end of the season, regardless of what is taken in terms of like what happens on the field. But I just want to know what the price tag was to get all this shit done. I just want to know, because for the University of so by the way, I went through all the Big Ten schools and looked at what their current state is in regards to, like, regardless of the football team, right? Like, without the football team stuff going on, what is the current state on campus? Because the important hypocrisy that we need to point out here is some of these schools don't have people on campus. Some of these schools are like some of these schools are 75% online, and the few people who are coming into school to learn and stuff like that are going for labs.
Yeah.
Right? So they'll be on campus for 3 hours and then they'll leave it. It begs the question, why is it not safe for students to be on campus, but the athletes are totally okay to be there? Yeah. Lots of questions. I went through a couple of schools and I looked at it. Looked at what their current state is, and you tell me if this sounds like a good environment to send college athletes into. Let me know in the chat. Let me know on Twitter, FB_playbook. And if you got something really mean to say, send it to Martin, not me. Anyway, here we go. University of Illinois from the top. The Fighting Illini, home of Lovie Smith, and home of another very talented black woman who is working her way up the sports game, Ashton Washington. Her little brother plays for Penn State. Look out for him. He's a really good wide receiver. Crazy fast. He used to play for Travis High School, and he caught for like 1,000 yards for 3 consecutive years at Travis, which is crazy, especially in high school where you have fewer games. University of Illinois invested $6 to $7 million in testing for students and faculty members to do saliva tests twice a week. Fucking lit. Great job, Illinois. Parties on campus caused a huge spike despite those precautions, because you can get tested and have, by the way, the students are also required to wear masks and quarantine upon testing positive. They're required to wear masks on campus just like everybody else is, inside of buildings and all kinds of jazz like that. But that didn't stop Illinois from having a sudden spike in cases, because you can't stop. I mean, Martin, somebody got to drink these Coronas, baby. Somebody got to drink. Somebody got to hit these Wet Claws. Somebody got to, by the way, if you want to drink the inferior of the alcohol seltzers, go right ahead. I, on the other hand, will be drinking the superior seltzer alcohol, Truly's.
Wow.
Anyway.
No free ads, but Truly just got one hell of an ad right there from Ashton.
I'm just saying. I am a man of great taste. That's why I buy my cigars from gas stations. I'm kidding. I buy my cigars from humidors like a normal person. But I do smoke cigars, and I love me some Truly's. I can't deny it. Indiana University, moving on to the Hoosiers. They had the right idea. Every student was tested initially upon their return to campus. Cases rose because, like our president says, well, of course cases are going to rise. You're testing people. Testing has been targeted at high case areas, which in the case of Indiana is the dorms. So I don't know. The dorms, high density case areas, right? Last week, COVID case percentage was 25% for those who lived in Greek housing. So anybody who lived in a fraternity house, a sorority house, almost guaranteed that somebody in that bitch had coronavirus. As a matter of fact, guaranteed that 1/4 of all members of Greek life had coronavirus. And if there's one thing that other fraternities and sororities love to do, and that's hang out with each other. Brother and sister fraternities, people coming into frat houses that have dudes with coronavirus on surfaces that haven't been clean, hanging out with those dudes trying to holler at girls without a mask on, I'd have to say. Although, I feel like there's a lot of you ugly dudes that's not taking advantage of this situation. I feel like there's a lot of you ugly dudes out here that could be really using this mask to your advantage. I among them. I choose not to, because my girlfriend I've already trapped my girlfriend and there's nothing she can do about it. So, so yeah, just wanted to point that out. Indiana at one point had a 25% positive rate for Greek housing living. Schools have requested that students quarantine or move out of the frat houses and sorority houses. So yeah, that's their solution. They're like, you should just not be there. And if you didn't see that video over the weekend, there was a bunch of people inside at a frat house, and they had 20 people inside. They had 7 people on the porch out front drinking alcohol. Cops came up to them. They said, hey, man, we just ran your ID, and it says you came up positive for COVID last week. And he's like, yeah, bro. He's like, that's why I'm at home, which was the frat house with the 30 people inside of it. And I was like, yo, this dude, like, and if you watch the video, first of all, it's fucking hilarious because he has to be trying to be slick as fuck on this. It also must be nice to be able to just talk calmly to the police and not have them hit you over the head with a baton. But also, like, he legit was just like, yeah, bro, like, very casually, a man in college was saying, yeah, I quarantined at home with me and 30 of my closest friends. That's why that I have COVID-19. I'm quarantined at home, bro. But there's a party here. Which, by the way, I can't sympathize with some of those dudes. Like, if you're not higher up in the frat house in terms of like the hierarchy and everything like that, you don't control when the party happens. So you could have COVID-19 and be in your room, and it's 30 people inside the house. What you supposed to do? So, just an example of the bright future that America has available. That young man there, I hope they clown the fuck out of him on internet, because I honestly was too busy chuckling.
Really quickly, Ashton, that I just gotta give him a little bit of props because that's fucking funny.
That's ballsy. That's ballsy. That's why I'm at home, dog. That's why I'm here at home.
Because that's something I know for a fact. College Martin would have, if College Martin had gotten COVID and was told to quarantine, that's something I probably would have done or said. I'm doing what I was told. I'm at home. I'm quarantining at home. I'm following the rules.
By the way, the most important thing to point out here, I can't be mad at the college kids. The college kids gonna do what college kids do.
Exactly.
I'm mad at the adults for not knowing what college kids do.
Yeah.
We could be mad at them because they're adults and all that kind of stuff. But how am I supposed to be mad at that young lady who was at that Florida State game that got blown up on Twitter?
The one that was sitting there without a mask.
She had the beer, and they had the COVID-19 person. They had the COVID-19 stuff going on, the rules inside the stadium. She was surrounded by people, which hopefully she knew, and next to some dude, and she had the beer in her hand. She's allowed to have the beer in her hand and be able to drink out of it, guys, because that's the only time you're allowed to have your mask down throughout the course of the game.
She didn't even have a mask.
Also, she looked terrified in that video. She was like, oh shit, somebody saw me, and I wasn't supposed to be here today.
Yeah.
But she also, by the way, if you look underneath the comments of that video, she definitely commented on it.
Nice.
Somebody said that she was somebody said, like, hey girl, the Rona is way worse than whatever STD that dude next to you is gonna give you tonight. And she was like, hey Laura, what if we're in a relationship? Think about that. And you click on the profile, and it's definitely 100% her.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to her, that Florida State chick.
Couple more schools here that
Yeah. I think you guys get my point here. I've gone over we've so far Indiana, and then what was the other? Illinois. Not great situations. There were attempts to make the things safe as possible. One, the testing seems to be pretty heavy. Twice a week, especially for how many kids are on that fucking campus, bro. That's a lot. I know Tulane is testing people every single day. One of my friends, Sarah, is in charge of like processing those tests. So that's a lot of work for her every single fucking day. Yeah. And moving on. We go to IU reported a drop in cases, by the way, this week from 25% to 15% when it came to Greek housing. The other thing, no, it's not that school. It's not this school. It's Iowa. The University of Iowa, in August, Iowa had the highest rate of COVID cases in the country per the White House. So take that however you will when it comes to the White House. Cases are rising currently in Johnson County, where University of Iowa is located. Cases as of September 14th, 1,868 on campus, right? Mm-hmm. That's since they came back to school. So not a ton of people that have it, but the fact of the matter is, highly infectious disease, that if one motherfucker goes to class and they got the wrong strain of COVID-19, now we all got COVID, or a lot of us got COVID. 469 employees, that includes like grad students and a bunch of other people like adjunct professors and everything like that, asked for alternative work environments because they was like, I'm not trying to be around these kids wilding out at school. They probably saw that video that I was talking about before, and they were like, nope, not I, said the cat. And they'd be right. Moving on. University of Maryland, the Terps. They shut down athletics September 3rd because of a spike in cases. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So does that mean Maryland's not coming back, right? Oh, they are back?
Maryland's back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all back. They don't like, based off of the first decision to decide that everybody could not play, the decision that everyone is going to play seems like an order for everyone. Okay. So y'all need to figure that shit out. The two biggest schools in the Washington area also had a spike in cases on campus, which includes Maryland. University of Michigan seems like they have it under control, because when you type in University of Michigan COVID cases or University of Michigan football COVID, nothing comes up. That's concerning. Oh, wait. the grad students on campus are literally striking because Michigan is only testing students in the dorms and students that are a part of Greek life, which means they're not testing the people who are most viable to spread or bring the disease on campus, ladies and gentlemen, commuter students at a state school. So, yeah, they're that plus apparently like the faculty's not getting consistent testing or anything like that. So that's got to be fun. Right. That's
Yeah.
cool, right? But literally, they're to the point where the president of Michigan has gone to the governor to to get a work order to force them to go back to work. So, yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's multiple presidents who have come out and said that
yeah.
there is nothing good about the precautions that Michigan is taking.
Yeah, that's 5 of the Big Ten, even though there's 12 teams in the Big Ten conference. That Ashton has found some things about football. Is it just football, or is it they're bringing back all sports?
Oh, everybody's coming back. So everybody's back.
Okay.
That includes the fall sports. Basketball actually got a start date. Shout out to my dude Donovan Williams. He actually retweeted, or else I probably wouldn't have seen it. They do have a return start date. I think it's like November or something. So he's getting ready for his season. He plays for the University of Texas. Shout out Donovan Williams. Represent his sister Kelsey Boone plays in the WNBA. Yeah. And if you're from Galveston, the Galveston Ball, which is where Galveston Ball is the high school in Galveston, Texas, where Mike Evans is from. Stadium's named after Donovan's grandfather.
Really? I didn't know that.
Things you didn't need to know. He won like 7 state track championships in Galveston. That's fucking crazy.
So Ohio State, does that mean Ohio State's now eligible to make the college football playoffs at the end of the season? Or
so what's going to happen is when the season starts in October, they will not have any breaks. By the way, most schools have canceled spring break.
Okay.
So that's the thing. Most schools have canceled spring break to make sure that they get the same number of in-class days, which I'm assuming is heavily connected to accreditations, especially when it comes to being able to assign credits to people's degrees and everything. So that's actually kind of important. But it kind of sucks that your spring break was magically one of those weeks where you were locked inside of your house because of a global pandemic. So there's no spring break this year. That's going to suck mentally for a lot of people because those week-long breaks or like those 4-day breaks when it's like Easter weekend, that stops some people from literally having a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
I know people who were like that in college.
Oh, for sure.
Engineering students, yeah. If you know college kids, be checking on them, making sure they're all right. I keep up with a lot of college Quidditch players, and most of their snaps and Instagram stories are them in their dorm room looking at a computer screen, which cannot be good for you mentally, like your psyche as a whole. So,
I know some Ohio State fans are going to be excited. Their team hasn't, what's it been, 5 years at least since when did Ohio State win the national championship? Was it 2015?
They won it with Ezekiel Elliott when they beat Marcus Mariota in Oregon, right?
Yeah, so it's been however many years since then that a Big Ten representative has been in the national championship conversation, or the final, I should say. So Ohio State fans, I know a lot of them that I've seen on Twitter and just having a conversation with a couple of people I know that like Ohio State. They were most disappointed because this is what they believe to be the team. Like the team that they have right now with Justin Fields at quarterback and everything, they are convinced that this is the year Ohio State can get back to the levels that they believe that they should be, which is.
And it does not help that a year ago they lost to the current national champs.
Yeah.
Right.
Or no, didn't they played?
No, LSU won. My bad. They lost to a team that made it to the national final game.
They were the number 2 seed and lost to Clemson.
Yeah, lost to Joey Burrow, who is playing tonight.
Yeah.
By the way,
kickoff is just over 2.5 hours from recording time right now. So we're halfway through the show right now, Ashton. This is where we're going to be talking money. Are we talking money? And this one, somebody's coming after our boy Deshaun Watson.
All right, so this is classic. This is some classic shit. For all you losers out there who, let's be honest, secretly hate women, that love to talk about gold diggers. No gold digger like this guy. Yeah, exactly. Deshaun Watson is being sued by a photographer 9 days after he signed his $160 million contract extension for photos that he posted on Instagram. This dude has been sitting on this for years at this point because they were photos that showed multiple versions of the same of him there were multiple versions of him throughout his time here in Houston. So his first 3 years here in Houston, and he's suing him for copyright infringement.
Yep.
Aaron
Excuse me.
Reacher is his name, I believe it is.
I don't know. I didn't
Aaron's.
see his name.
By the way, if you go to his Twitter account, it's nothing but photos. So, like, legit, it's just photos that he's taking with his cell phone. The Texans have now also revoked his credential.
Yeah, it's a weird one
So,
that
yeah, it's
like,
not weird.
like,
You know what it is. He's
oh, I
trying to
know.
get this money.
Oh, for
He's
sure.
trying to get this money, baby.
It's just weird that, like you said, the timing. Like the photo questions are there's multiple photos, but this from not recently. Like 2018 on Instagram, that ain't recent. Especially with how many posts Deshaun Watson puts out there. This shit ain't recent. This guy literally waited just about a week to put in this lawsuit against Deshaun Watson. And if I'm any, if this goes to court or anything, I'm, it's easy. You ask him, why did you wait this long? What is your reasoning behind deciding 9 days after a contract extension worth $160 million to sue
Oh
somebody?
man.
And I was looking into this article, I was looking into this story. Don't remember where I read it, but this the article that I read said this isn't the first time that this person, he's a freelance photographer, just shooting himself in the foot because yeah, there's intellectual property and that stuff should be defended, but like if you're gonna be mad over Deshaun Watson using your photo without giving you the proper credit, why don't you fucking put a watermark on the photo? And that way
Yeah.
people know who took the fucking photo. Like it can't be that hard. Like Ash and I were talking before the show. There's fucking chicks on OnlyFans that watermark their photos so that their intellectual property doesn't get stolen. So I mean, there it's weird that you decide not to watermark your photos for one. Two, apparently these photos were from the Associated Press, and the only thing the guy's mad about is Deshaun Watson doesn't have a contract with the Associated Press. Like, don't the Texans have a? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
was gonna say the Texans have clearance to use Associated Press photos.
Yeah, so
It would be like somebody being like, "Yeah, use the Getty image, a Getty Images photo or whatever," and like technically you can do that without having permission because the watermarks on the fucking photo
yeah,
for Getty Images. So
yeah,
yeah, it's illegal shit.
yeah, and like
It's just we talking money because it's like real convenient that 9 days after Deshaun Watson is now generationally wealthy,
yeah.
that somebody's already trying to hit his pockets. They're like, "Hey man, can I hold $1 or maybe two?"
Ashton mentioned the legal side of it, and this is my last point on it. Intellectual property laws, and especially the DMCA, which I am
This is the shit
adamantly
that you come to
against.
this podcast for.
I
This is why you're here.
I can't
Nerd
stand
shit.
it. I can't stand the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and the main reason is Ashton. It was created in 1998. Do you know where the internet was in like how the internet was in 1998? It is totally different this many years later. Totally fucking different, and it's never been updated.
Of course not.
Like you
Oh,
like,
that would make too much sense.
like a copyright act for the digital space hasn't been updated since 1998. It's fucking wild, and it just needs to be addressed. Like you want to talk about getting voters on your side, figure out a fucking way to figure Congress members figure out a fucking way to update the Digital Millennium Copyright Act because it's a fucking joke. And so yeah, that's what we talking money. Deshaun Watson's getting sued for photos he used from a freelance photographer on
Deshaun
Instagram.
Watson's just like, "I just got here, bro."
Yeah, exactly. Like the money ain't even hit yet. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man. They ain't even. It's like the direct deposit hasn't even hit. God damn, that doesn't come till Monday. Shit, man.
yeah.
Anyway,
So
that's what we got for We Talking
yeah.
Money. I got media suggestions. I got two. What do you got? One, Martin?
Well, I was just gonna say this is normally part of the show. We do Hi My Name Is, but Ashton and
Oh
I have
yeah.
made the editorial decision to move Hi My Name Is to the Tuesday episode. So for those of you that enjoy Ashton guessing who I'm talking about in less than 0.1 seconds, like you did with Javadion Clowney last week, tune in on Tuesday.
The sack clown.
We're gonna be recording on Tuesdays at I believe 6 p.m. And that'll just be mainly a NFL recap. So, hi, my name is will probably more than likely be NFL player related. We're just gonna have to figure out a way to stump Ashton. But Ashton, media suggestions, you got two of them. Let's go.
Yeah, if you are a subscriber to The Athletic, which if you are a sports fan, I would definitely suggest that. I'm also creeping, Martin, I've been slowly trying to convince myself to not buy the PFF Edge account,
Hmm.
but I might cave. I listen to some of their podcasts, and I like a lot of the dudes that do their reporting, for sure. And of course, I would love to have that information when it comes to like making picks and also just being a better football person. But I feel like also the free stuff that is available is good for a lot of things. Like I need to know for a lot of pressure rate for a lot of teams, and I think we don't need to get any deeper than that because don't know how many super deep football fans we have listening to the podcast. But anyway, I subscribed to the Athletic during the quarantine, but this story Zach Wheeler wrote, shout out to him. Actually, messaged him right when I listen to articles using a read aloud article for people who are blind. They click on article links or whatever, and then they send it into this app, and it reads the article aloud to you. I use that when I'm driving in my car to listen to stuff. Zach Wheeler wrote a story Sunday or published it Sunday morning, and it was about Justin Houston, outside linebacker, edge, defensive end, whatever you want to call it, for the Indianapolis Colts, and it was about his life. He is one of 11 children, and his grandmother's dying wish is for all of them was for all of them to have a home to call home, a place to call home. She gave them her home when she passed away. They lived in that home, and it burned down one night. And Justin Houston saved two of his siblings by running into a fire and pulling them out as a child, and everything that has happened since then, and why Justin works so hard and grinds so hard as a football player. It's because, like Bomani Jones likes to say about a lot of dudes, he can't go back to where he came from because where he came from is literally the streets.
Yeah.
So it was a really great story about Justin Houston, how he's turned his rough and terrible childhood into such a positive outlook on the world and a reason to drive him to keep pushing forward. Other things to look at on YouTube if you are a video type person or you're a visual learner. Matisse Thybulle, who was doing videos from inside the bubble, the 76ers rookie, he actually is continuing to do it, continuing to do vlogs and stuff on YouTube, and it's just off-season stuff. He surprise visited his father last weekend, and he posted about it. He went on a hike in he's from his dad lives in Arizona, so he like flew to Arizona and met up with his sister, and they took like a Porsche and went on a hike in some beautiful mountain ranges. And it was just a video of him walking out, hanging out with his sister and stuff like that. So check it out. That's all I got for media suggestions.
All right, now is the time of the show where we get into some breaking down some of the sports action that's been going on. Ashton, we've got NBA, NFL, UFC this week, or that's happening. Let's get into the NBA first. As we've been doing all playoff long, we've been pouring one out for the homies that just unfortunately didn't make it, and the Houston Rockets 4-1 losers to the LA Lakers. I was not expecting to say this one as soon as so soon in the playoffs. The Clippers are out, and also the Toronto Raptors, they fall in their series as well. I
Pouring out for
I
the homies that
I,
didn't make it.
I don't have anything left in my cup. I've already went through it all this so far this episode. Chugging coffee as we record a little bit earlier on Thursdays now.
All
Uh,
right. Completely missed on that one.
and we got it live. We got it live. We had it live. Somebody can clip
I
Ashton.
unscrewed the tops of my water bottles because it pressurizes and the air slowly seeps out and it creates a really annoying noise. And I forgot to tighten the top of this one before I drank it. Luckily, there wasn't too much water in there. Anyway, also, good point in the podcast. Remember, hydrate. Drink your water, guys and gals and people.
Yep.
Drink your water. You need that.
Yeah, and this Ashton, you've put it in here. Um, this is the part, and if anybody has been following along, Ashton and I have kind of steered away from going toe to toe on two coaches for Houston teams, specifically Mike D'Antoni and Bill O'Brien. It seems as if though I'm not a big fan of coaches with an abbreviation in their last name. Uh, but Ashton, you wrote, "It's time to have the conversation." So here we go. Um, You can have the floor first, and then I'll come back, and then you can you can try and counter me, but
It's not a try. Mike D'Antoni has a 70% win percentile as a head coach, which makes him a Hall of Famer. He is also one of 3 coaches to have a win percentile that high and not win an NBA championship. And the last 2 dudes were like in the 70s and the 60s. So it bodes to say that Mike D'Antoni has a long track record and a great legacy of winning, which if you've watched anything that he's done here in Houston, you would also agree with that. The times that the Rockets have failed, most recently to a team led by LeBron James, a man who has gone to 8 straight NBA finals and is a 2-time NBA champion, 3-time NBA champion, and quite frankly, the greatest teammate in the history of basketball. Maybe the second greatest basketball player of all time, right?
mm-hmm.
And also Anthony Davis, just a top 10 player of our time. That's the team that the Rockets lost to. The other teams the Rockets have lost to in the playoffs, San Antonio Spurs, that had 4 Hall of Famers on it, including now Kawhi Leonard, who we'll talk about, I guess, after we get done talking about the Rockets. They've also lost to the Golden State Warriors, the 3-time NBA champion that is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and 1-time NBA champion that is Kevin Durant, correct? And a truly legendary team that, I mean, like when it's all said and done, they'll be telling stories about the Golden State Warriors. So I just want people to put it in perspective when they talk about Mike D'Antoni being a bad coach. Literally the only people who have been able to take down Mike D'Antoni have been absolute juggernaut basketball teams. There have been teams that have been led by multiple Hall of Famers. In particular, one of them is arguably the greatest player of all time. The other one is arguably the greatest player of all time at his position in Tim Duncan, right? Tim Duncan can either be considered the greatest power forward or center of all time, depending upon who you talk to. And we can sit here and talk shit about all other cities in Texas that have sports teams, right, Martin? But at the end of the day, we respect Tim Duncan and the greatness that is Tim Duncan, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, think about that when you're talking about how Mike D'Antoni is a shit coach, because look at what it takes to defeat Mike D'Antoni. Look at what it took to beat them this time. They were a team that literally ran without a center, which leads me to my next point, Martin. Why do the Rockets not run with the center? I get it. They had Tyson Chandler, who they didn't have in Game 5, right, because of the situation, which we can talk about later. But they have a philosophical idea of close, high percentage shots or threes, because the threes have a higher percentage. They are worth one more point than the twos, right? Let me break something down for you. Sorry, I'm gonna have to pick up the microphone and turn around just to make this point, so I can look at my dry erase board here, Martin. Daryl Morey has had the opportunity to make 17 draft picks since the year 2007. Actually, this is this decade. 17 draft picks this decade since 2010. Many would and of course, you could sit here and say, oh, Ashton, the Rockets are always in a great position so that they never, their draft picks don't matter because they never have high draft picks. I would say you're wrong. Here's why. 2011, Chandler Parsons. Martin, would you say that Chandler Parsons, as a member of the Rockets, was a successful venture? Despite how it ended?
I was about to say until the end, but until that.
Which, by
the way, it was an injury anyways. That took him out.
Because he literally, the past 2 years before, he ran the longest distance in the NBA. He literally ran the most miles in the NBA when he was playing for the Rockets.
He was also, Gordon Hayward before Gordon Hayward.
I hope he's all right after that. That car wreck. They said possibly did some brain damage to him. Yeah. So hopefully he's okay. Marcus Morris. Marcus and his brother Markieff are really good. Marcus Morris is pretty good, right, Martin? I think the LA Clippers would agree that Marcus Morris is good.
He's all right.
He was traded away. 2011, traded away to the Phoenix Suns. 2014, possibly this decade, the most developed player in the history. In this decade, the most out of all the players that Daryl Morey has picked, Clint Capella is the one that developed the most. I could argue that until I tell you the other name that's on here, Clint Capella. Where is he at, Martin? He's traded away, right, to the Atlanta Hawks for Robert Covington. We could also move on to 2015, where one Montrezl Harrell, another Houston Rockets draft pick. Would anybody like to talk about where Montrez was? He's also going home. He's already at home. He also won Sixth Man of the Year this year for the LA Clippers. He was traded away. 2017, Dylan Brooks. They traded him away to the Grizzlies. By the way, Montrezl Harrell was traded away in that move for Chris Paul. So can't really get too mad about that. But Dylan Brooks, who now plays for the Grizzlies. It's hard to say that drafts haven't meant anything to the Rockets when you look at the quality of player that they were able to have access to but chose not to hold on to make moves to try and make the roster overall better. You can sit here and you can talk about how the trades have made the team better over those years. Yes, we went from having the matchup, the best duo partner for James Harden being Patrick Beverley or possibly Lou Williams, more than likely Lou Williams because he's amazing. More than likely Lou Williams to Chris Paul for a couple of years, and then Chris Paul annoyed the fuck out of James Harden, and they had to trade him. And then it became Russell Westbrook, which, by the way, if you look at that sequence, Martin, many would say that's an improvement.
Yeah.
You could argue,
I was all in on Russell. I'm a huge Russell Westbrook fan, even after what just happened in the playoffs.
Everybody thinks that Russell Westbrook is leaving after this year because that's how much they've come accustomed to the turmoil and constant changing of the roster for the Houston Rockets, right?
Yep.
You think like it's a one and done type situation, which of course you could say for a lot of dudes. Like Eric Gordon is one of the few people who's been here every single year. PJ Tucker got here a couple of years ago, and a lot of people like him. But the constant moving and the constant changing of the roster creates a gap that literally the team that got eliminated the same time the Rocket or a couple games after the Rockets did, the LA Clippers, said was their undoing. The lack of team chemistry, the lack of time together. And if there's been one thing that has been in the way of that team chemistry existing for the Rockets, it is Daryl Morey's need, desire, willingness to just move everybody willy-nilly. Nobody's safe on the Rockets unless you're James Harden. And that, I believe, inherently is a massive problem because if you look at the roster, the quality of player, the quality of the roster, top to bottom, out of those 15 dudes, is depleting. It is literally getting watered down every single year. You used to remember at one point you could say Eric Gordon, Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, James Harden, and Clint Capella were all on the same team, I believe. Yeah. All on the same team at one point. You would call that a win. That's not the same. That's not the case. That's not what the existence of the Rockets is anymore. And I wholeheartedly, you look at like the starting five. PJ Tucker, forced to play center, play power forward kind of to go out there and play, which he did spectacularly until he literally met an actual monster in LeBron James. Eric Gordon, consistently hurt, breaking down every single year, playing fewer and fewer games, I would imagine, as time has gone on. And then on top of that, when he does play, the efficiency is not necessarily there for a guy who's supposed to be your third best option or your second best option in some cases for a long stretch of period of time. Russell Westbrook just got here, so I'll give him a pass. James Harden is a prolific scorer. And for whatever you guys have to say about James Harden, and he may not be a team or the going phrase is, you can't win a championship with James Harden as your best player. James Harden is a Hall of Famer. James Harden has changed the very definition of what it means to score in the NBA. And when it's all said and done, he may not ever be an NBA champion. But I implore you to think about the reasons why the teams that it took to beat Mike D'Antoni, and the constant state of change that is the existence of the Houston Rockets. Are they getting better, or are they finding more people who can bear the brunt? Because every single year, in my eyes as a basketball guy, I see James Harden getting more and more put on his shoulders that he has to carry for them to win. And it's done by not Mike D'Antoni in his coaching decisions, because he's willing to let James do whatever he wants. It's done by Daryl Morey in the fact that he's willing to move heaven and earth to get one superstar player, but doesn't care about the next three guys coming off the bench after the starters. And you can even argue he doesn't even care about the starters outside of Russell Westbrook and James Harden at this point, based off the roster that was put out there on the court. I rest my case.
All right, here. Let me just sit up, make sure I've got everything in order. Okay, so everybody I think is in agreement that there's three there's three culprits, shall we say? If this is if we're in court, there's three culprits, correct? There's or at least there's three constants in the problems with the Houston Rockets: James Harden, Daryl Morey, Mike D'Antoni. They all take some some of the blame for the struggles of not getting to the next level because it, it's so weird to see no matter what options Daryl Morey puts in for Mike D'Antoni, it is always the same. You bring up having Clint Capella. Um, Please go back and show me any highlights of them running a pick and roll with Clint Capella, and that might be on Clint Capella more than it is Mike D'Antoni. But you bring up the fact that Mike D'Antoni's offense is based around 3 pointers and getting to the rim, or a shot as close to the rim as possible, right? Um, at some point, you've got to realize that that's not working. At some point, you have got to sit your guys down, get your clipboard out, and draw up something different. It is the by all accounts, Mike D'Antoni is a stand-up person, great guy. Can't take any of that away from him. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about on the court. You bring up the teams that he's lost to.
Which Martin, let's be honest, him being a stand-up guy is actually negative when it comes to coaching. Like if you know anything about great coaches, they're kind of assholes.
Exactly. Go look at Bill Belichick, some of the answers that he gives. But so you bring up all these facts about who they've lost to, this and that, and that's more on Daryl Morey's side of things for not having the not building the roster the correct way. So we can't blame Mike D'Antoni for what he has to work with. You can blame him, and he should be blamed for not being able to adapt. The best what
Okay,
make
so Martin, my response to that is the like not being able to adapt because you've not been given the personnel that has the versatility to adapt to the situation.
and
It's
that's
one
true.
one thing is here. It's one thing if the Rockets go small ball, which by the way, we can talk about other things that have happened in the history of the Rockets besides this year, but in particular the ballsy move to go small ball and to have it work out until you met two of the biggest motherfuckers in the NBA that just so happen to be two elite level scorers, right?
Yeah.
And now we get into that situation. What's the logical thing to do, Martin? We're getting banged around in the paint. It's not to keep putting PJ Tucker out there. It's to go get our center and put him out there. Who
Yeah,
is that? Who is that, Martin?
it should have been Tyson Chandler, but he never even got
Should it
into
have
half of
been?
the.
Should it have been Tyson Chandler?
He's a former
Does
defensive
if
player of the year.
Hey Martin? All right, all right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Martin, when was Tyson Chandler Defensive Player of the Year? It was like
2012 when
5 years ago.
no, it wasn't it
It's like
2012.
6. They beat.
Tyson.
They beat. That was when. So you're talking about putting Tyson Chandler on the floor to play against LeBron James and Anthony Davis. When the last time that he was able to dominate LeBron James was when he played for the Miami Heat, and Tyson Chandler played for the Mavericks. Remember that?
You don't lose your defense, like you don't lose the ability to play defense, but that like
Oh, okay, okay. Tell
uh,
that to Bruce Bowen.
look
Tell that to tell.
here. I'm not done with my point against fucking
Sorry,
Mike D'Antoni,
I'm just saying the lack of versatility in the roster, which is a
which,
quality thing,
which is
goes on
that's
Daryl
more
Morey.
100%. I agree with you. However, you bring up all these stats about his winning percentage, this and that, like what, like okay, so by my count, there is 16 teams in the NBA that didn't finish above 500. Correct? There's 30 teams. I count 16. I might be wrong. I can go
Oh
back.
no, there were some teams that had losing records in the playoffs.
Yeah, so hold on. So then I'm looking at the Eastern Conference. In the Eastern Conference, 9 of the 15 teams in the Eastern Conference finished below 500. In the Western Conference, 8. So that's 17 of the 30 teams aren't that good, or at least aren't good enough to win more than half their games, correct? So your inflated stats are against teams that aren't that good. Those are the teams you should be beating. But when
So well, hold on, Martin. So that would mean that you can just discount any team being good based off of the quality of their opponent as if they control how good the other person is going to be. That's the same argument as people making like last year when they're like the Raptors championship doesn't count because Kevin Durant got hurt. And like
no,
what's the fact of the matter on that one, Martin? It's not their job to make sure that Kevin Durant is healthy. It's their job to go win the game. It's
and
not their
that
fault.
that's fine.
Your fifth All Star is hurt. You know what I mean?
That
So
that valid point. However, you're going out again like your winning percentage and James Harden like scoring all these
nobody's
points.
win counts then. Nobody's wins count anymore.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the quality of the opponent that's on the court isn't that good, and when the quality of the opponent is good, Mike D'Antoni struggles. I mean, look at OKC. You're bringing up like teams that have big threes and stuff like that. It's fucking Chris Paul and a bunch of randoms that went to game 7. It shouldn't have even went to game 7. A good coach would have figured out a way to not go to game 7 against OKC this past year.
But didn't they go to game 7 with the San Antonio Spurs when he was the head coach? That James Harden like didn't show up for.
When they had a center. which
by the way, once again, whose fault is they don't have a center? I'm just saying. They literally like, we got a pretty good center that we can pay to be here for a good chunk of time that we drafted and were able to develop to teach him how to play exactly how we need him to play. And they were like, get him the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Get him the fuck out of here.
We're in agreement that Morey is one of the problems. And
but
before
you're okay, so your point has always been that it's all Mike D'Antoni's fault.
No, I've never said it was all his fault. I've said he is the main reason that the Rockets can't get over the hump because there's no plan, and I know that the counter argument to it is he's dealing with it's a game of poker. He's dealing with the hand that he's dealt, and that's 100% correctly. But you can ask a poker player, you can win a hand with the 7-2 offsuit.
Not if the other motherfucker got 4 aces.
Hey, you can get somebody like you can like I'm just
I don't think LeBron James is bluffing when he comes down the paint. That's all when he's driving. I don't think LeBron James is bluffing. That's all I'm saying. Nah, but I agree with you, Martin, that everybody's got something. Everybody's contributing to the problem.
Yes.
There's just one person. The person with the most power is wielding that power to contribute the most to the problem is my thing. And I get it. Mike D'Antoni's the dude. Like, that's literally the phrase that my coach taught me. It was one of the first things that I was ever taught when I played high school varsity basketball. He was like, yo, when y'all win, it's on y'all. When we lose, it's on me. I would prefer if y'all win. I don't need the love. I don't need the admiration. I just need y'all to go out there and win because, like, when we lose, it's all my fault, right? Like, that's how sports is. That's
so, question:
sports.
Would put Mike D'Antoni as the head coach of Mike D'Antoni and his offensive philosophy of only shooting
threes. Which, by the way,
the
offensive philosophy is not like the whole like only threes and only close twos. That's Daryl Morey. Mike D'Antoni is about pace.
Yeah, the 6 seconds or less or whatever.
Shooting threes. Yeah, not necessarily only shooting threes. I get it. A good chunk of that is, you can run really fast when you don't run all the way to the other hoop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you go from 3-point to 3-point line, you can go really fast. I get that. But the whole like philosophy on like sabermetrics, because remember, only one of those 2 men that we're talking about is a co-founder of the Sloan Conference, which is literally math nerds and sports talking about like percentages of success when it comes to win rate and all kinds of stuff like that. My bad.
But would have Mike take Greg Popovich, take him out of the equation for the San Antonio Spurs and put Mike D'Antoni in there, would they have been the same amount of success?
They literally have 4 Hall of Famers.
It doesn't like.
You think Mike D'Antoni can ruin 3 Hall of Famers?
I don't know, dude. Like
also I respect Greg Popovich to know like what we saw this year, Martin, that it almost doesn't matter who you give him. He gonna figure out something. They were 1 game away.
Sorry, but you just answered.
No, but that's credit to Greg Popovich. So, not necessarily a discredit to Mike D'Antoni, who once again, like we can talk about, like Mike D'Antoni has done great things with the Houston Rockets. The reason that people are upset right now, Martin, is because they didn't get to the Western Conference Finals.
They can't get over the hump.
Martin, you realize the hump for some teams is getting over 500. like the Phoenix Suns. Some people, the hump is making the playoffs. The hump for the Rockets is we can't beat LeBron James. We can't beat Steph Curry and Klay Thompson consistently. We can win one game here or there, but we can't beat two of the most prolific three-point shooters in the history of the NBA.
But like,
Guess what? They're the Rockets are the only team that's ever been able to give the Warriors the business. And if that's how they get remembered, because what you're asking for is the greatest Rockets team of all time to beat one of the greatest NBA teams of all time. Do I believe the Rockets have assembled the greatest team in Rockets history? Hell the fuck no.
hell no, hell no. But I'll just keep going back to it. There's coach. I'm not saying he's a shit coach or he's a bad coach. I'm saying he's not a great, great NBA championship winning coach. That is what
I mean,
my point
goddamn,
that
that
has
means
been.
that he's
And
like not Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich, which hey, guess what? Like most people aren't.
and
So
that's a valid counter argument. However, and only one team wins the NBA title, and the NBA for some reason only a hand select few teams have won an NBA title in their entire
oh,
thing.
it's not that's not a mystery. Like the league used to literally be 8 teams.
Yeah, so like I understand that. However, it just year in and year out, and it's the same argument with Bill O'Brien, and it's the reason I'm out on Bill O'Brien now. And I've been a huge Bill O'Brien fan for the past 7, 6 years, however long he's been in there. The hump, a great coach figures out how to get over it. And yeah, you can say it's LeBron is the reason. You can say Steph Curry is the reason. Like great, like Greg Popovich had some Hall of Famers, but we've got some Houston's got Hall of Famers on their team. Like you've said, James Harden is almost a first
That's
ballot Hall
one.
of Famer. Russell
That's one.
Wilson, possibly, probably, I would say Russell Wilson
Russell
is a
Wilson is a Hall of
borderline.
Famer. Russell Westbrook, I
Well,
don't
did I say
know.
Russell Wilson? My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
Russell Westbrook, I would say, is probably on the fence right now as being a Hall of Famer.
Somebody hit me up on Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, on Twitter. FB_playbook is Russell Westbrook a Hall of Famer.
So he's also had Chris Paul there, who is a debatable Hall of Famer as well. So he's had Hall of Famers on his team and can't figure out how to coach them to get to the Western Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. That's my biggest point.
That's two. I'm just saying.
He's had two. Like it is like he had two plus Clint Capella and couldn't figure out how to coach them to run a fucking pick and roll. And yeah, people can say Clint Capella disappeared. Like that's on the coach to bring out the best in players. That's again, a part of being a coach.
We go to structural philosophy, and I think once again we move on this point because I just wanted people to hear the argument that we have on a regular basis, because it's not like we're just outlandishly out here talking about like Mike D'Antoni's the worst on the fucking planet, Daryl Moore is the worst on the fucking planet. Like we actually watch the Rockets and we've seen where their shortcomings are from like top to bottom, and where they fail consistently and where they're getting worse consistently, and nobody's talking about it because the results are relatively the same, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're losing in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, they're losing in a Game 7, or they're losing to great basketball teams. But if you're a real Rockets fan, you can say this for like any other team in the NBA. If you really watch your team, you see if the roster is overall improving top to bottom every single year.
Oh, it's definitely gotten worse.
My point is the rosters are getting watered down every single fucking year, and people are still expecting Western Conference wins, and that's just not going to happen. But yeah, move on.
Also, James Harden just flew under the radar. Like his playoff performances are just absolute.
You know, that's the thing that a lot of people like to talk about too, but it begs the question of like, is James Harden getting more put on his shoulders every single year that he plays in the NBA? As like, is he getting more put on his shoulders because his quality of teammate is dropping? I would say yes.
Yeah, probably. So we'll have to let the audience.
We got two more. Two more teams on here. We talk about the Clippers. We talk about the Raptors. A lot of people were just fucking shocked the Raptors were going to still be good after this all was all said and done. And like I said, Kyle Lowry, shout out to him. He has completely rewritten his destiny and what people believe in him about. Mm-hmm. People used to clown him for his performances in the playoffs, and now he is a dude that people can depend upon to go out there and win games. That team, they're one dude away from being right back to where they were before, man. Spicy P, the real P that we talk about here on the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. Pascal Siakam. Great performance from him, man. And shout out to the Raptors, bro. Can't wait to see what they put together next year. Although it could be a money year, which is bad for players, which is bad for the team because the players are going to go somewhere else.
Yep.
The Clippers, man.
What happened?
People clown the fuck out of the Clippers.
They deserve it.
Playoff P. I feel like Playoff P deserves it a little bit, even though he stopped calling himself Playoff P. It's hard for me to see because my thing is like people shitting on Kawhi on Twitter, being like, "Don't ever say that Kawhi is the same as LeBron James ever." And I was like, Kawhi literally never said anything like that. Like y'all are conflating LeBron James constantly comparing himself to Michael Jordan, or like trying to usher in an era where he feels like he's on the same level as Michael Jordan in comparison to Kawhi Leonard, who literally says nothing. Kawhi Leonard is here to ball. And my biggest issue is this was a lot of people, as they typically do, Martin, when it comes to these situations, they go out of their way to shit on a team that was really good, which is the Clippers, right? Like the Clippers, amazing team, stacked top to bottom, had sixth man of the year, had Sweet Lou, had Patrick Beverly, all defensive NBA, had fucking Kawhi Leonard, one of the best two-way players in the history of basketball. Many could argue playoff P. They had him out there. Ivan Zubac, who was a guy the Lakers just kind of tossed away and thought he wasn't going to really be anything of significance to go out there and become a starter. Montrezl Harrell, sixth man of the year. Other guys like that coming off the bench, man. Landry Shamet, you know? And for them to be like, yeah, you know, it wasn't the Nuggets that won that game. It was the Clippers that lost it. And I was like, the Nuggets literally won 4 fucking games in a row to get to that point. And you're trying to tell me that it's on the Clippers as to why that happened? I would dare say the Nuggets put their fair share of work into winning those fucking games. That's my biggest problem.
I still can't believe the Nuggets are in the conference championship. Like it,
bro, them boys tired, bro. Like you know they're tired, man. Like their legs have to be they're so tired, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And hold on, I'm bringing something up here because I can past Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, I couldn't tell you who the starting.
That's right.
I couldn't tell you who the starting five is.
That's none of your business. That's none of your business. You don't need to know who the other guys on that team are.
Do you also know the head coach of the Denver Nuggets?
Yes.
Who is it?
Terry Stotts, right?
Oh, isn't it? I thought it was
Mike Budenholzer is for
Mike
the Bucks.
Malone. Michael Malone.
Mike Malone.
See, he's able to get to the conference champion. Let me going back to my last point. We don't even know who this coach is, and he's able to get his fucking players to the conference championship.
We are also in a very rare space to exist in, Martin, where we're witnessing the emergence of a great basketball player, which is really dope.
Is it Nikola or Jamal you're talking about there?
Oh, Jokic's been here, man. But Jokic has been out here. Jokic has been out here in the streets. People know what time it is. Like I've been saying, Martin, Jokic keeps you in every single game you play. Jamal Murray is the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, look at that, a center being able.
All right. Let's be honest. Jokic isn't like a normal center, right? Yeah. Jokic is literally, they came up with a new term for him, and it's point center because his passing and his vision and his ability. Martin, we're talking about a center who shoots threes consistently and makes them.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't watch every second of this series, but in Game 7, Montrezl Harrell takes the inbound pass, goes up against Jokic. Jokic blocks him, takes the ball down the court as if he's a fucking point guard, and dishes it, and they score. Like, he dishes and gets the assist, and I was just like, holy shit. That was fucking great. Fucking, that was great to watch. But and I don't know how much you want to get into it, matchup wise, and how the Nuggets face up against the Lakers. I am tuning in for every second.
AD versus Jokic.
That's what I was just about to say. I'm tuning in for every second of this series to watch that matchup down low, because that's like Ash and I have agreed. Daryl Morey is a big part of a problem for the Rockets because he got rid of the big guys and went small ball. This is how you play basketball in 5-on-5 basketball professionally. You need a big guy down low that does everything that Nikola Jokic does, and it's going to be great to watch.
Davis. Like they are the epitome of, like, if you've ever been taught what the concept of a basketball player is, right? Like, we move closer and closer to positionless basketball.
Oh yeah.
AD and Nikola Jokic are just really tall dudes who play basketball, which is dope.
And we're gonna see Rajon Rondo, one of my personally favorite basketball players of the past 10, 20 years,
A lot
because
of hate in his heart. A lot of hate
he
in
he.
Rondo's heart.
Well, here's the thing. You brought it up earlier. The Big Three. People forget Rajon Rondo was part of
The
that
Big
team.
Four.
It was the Big
Yeah,
Four.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like, he has been part of some great teams, and he has that factor about. He's got like that. I want to call it like the Allen Iverson factor. Like the tough. Like, he brings this sort of toughness that not every player has, and I
I was
fucking
gonna say
love
because the
watching it.
offense of Rajon Rondo looks nothing
Nothing.
like
Yeah,
AI.
that's what I'm talking about. Like the attitude, the the
Right,
practice.
right.
We talking like I could imagine Rajon Rondo doing the practice soundbite. We
Don't
talking
forget.
practice?
Don't forget Rondo's most famous moment. He was in shoot around for the Boston Celtics and working out and everything like that, getting ready for a game, and they had to come in and tell him he tore his ACL and he is done for the season.
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck
Don't
about no
forget
torn
that.
ACL. Last point on the Nuggets and Clippers. You saw. I don't know if you saw this, Ashton, but the reports that the Clippers were tired.
Yo, they're playing basketball every other day.
So
So
The Nuggets have
I
played
mean, they
more
tired. They just
basketball.
didn't say. By the way, guys, if you don't know, the cycle is cyclical, right? Big important team loses early in the playoffs, all the excuses come out,
Oh
right?
yeah,
All the things that people, because now the season is over. This is actually, if you ever listen to this really dope episode of the Full 48, it is the last year of LeBron James in Cleveland, and it's Joe Varden, Howard Beck, and somebody else. I think it may be Brian Windhorst,
hmm
and they're just talking, and they're like, "Yo, like I don't." They were drinking wine, so they were like a little loose on it. And it's a podcast of them talking about the Cavaliers season that year with J.R. Smith and everything like that, with the time getting messed up and everything, and him being just like, LeBron told us they weren't gonna be able to win the championship like after the All Star break.
yeah.
Like he pulled us aside and told us that they had no chance because they played the Warriors after the break, and they're like, "Well, this is supposed to be our boost, right? This is supposed to be like where we rise to the occasion." And he was just like, he flat out told them, and that's when I realized that happens like all the time in basketball. Like dudes tell guys that they trust stuff off the record, and they can't tell anyone until after the season's over. And Joe Varden was able to tell people on the podcast because Cavaliers had lost the championship already. And I was actually really glad that I listened to that because it was basketball all season, and I try and I make an effort to not listen to or read as much basketball content during the off season because it's literally most of it's a lot of fluff stuff, right? But that was a really good conversation. But it was like this is stuff that they've been told this time and time again, over and over again, I'm sure. And they finally get to write about it under the guise of like, oh, this is the final press conference of the season for the Clippers. So I get to write stuff that they said
Yeah.
during the press conference, but nobody heard, right? And I think that's what it was. By the way, totally understand it because I can't imagine. I get it. They're professional athletes and stuff like that, but they're also playing the best basketball on the face of the planet and maybe the best basketball that's ever been played because of the world that we live in now. Bigger, better, faster, stronger athletes, different strategy, all kinds of stuff. They're playing the most difficult form of basketball ever to be played every other day.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it doesn't matter how good or how in shape or how conditioned you are, how much your recovery happens. It is something like at a certain point, it comes from within. Like it's something that takes away from your soul as an athlete. Like some of these guys are not going to come back the same
Yeah,
next year
yeah.
because
The
of this
the
stuff.
wear and tear of this bubble has been will be interesting to see in the future. But I just don't like seeing that excuse, especially after you go up against the Nuggets team who have played more basketball, I believe, than the Clippers have overall, right? Because didn't both their series go game sevens?
Yeah,
Like their first
exactly.
round, they went game
Yeah,
seven. The second round,
The Nuggets are back-to-back game sevens
so
in the playoffs.
so if anybody's tired, it should be the Denver Nuggets. But before we move on to the
Just
NFL,
because you win
Ashton,
it don't mean you're not tired.
true. Before we get on to the NFL and our pick'ems for that, Ashton, we've got the Lakers and Nuggets in the Western Conference. We're one game into the Heat and Celtics, so you've got one game more to see. Who are your picks to go to the NBA Finals between those four teams?
Yo, man, I know there's a lot of old people that are banking on Celtics and Lakers one more time. One last time. From Hamilton. Gotta teach them how to say goodbye.
That's two episodes in a
Anyway,
row Ashton sung, by the way.
there you go. That's what I'm here. I'm here for the people. I'm here for the people. If you know that song, shout out to you for listening to the Hamilton soundtrack or watching Hamilton on Disney Plus. Anyway, a lot of people banking on the Lakers to get past the Nuggets just because it's LeBron James versus people that they've never heard of.
Hmm.
So, and if you look at the play, like the best thing you can possibly do as a basketball fan, it's a good way to start off by assessing any type of series. Write down 1 through 10 on a piece of paper, and then rank the players who are in on each team. Like mix them all together. If they were all being ranked individually, how would you rank them? And why is JaVale McGee the last player you would rank? Anyway, you look at that and you're just kind of like LeBron James, obviously number one, and right now in the world that we exist in now, Anthony Davis number two, right? Because we think he's the number one center, and we think number three, who's Nikola Jokic, the second best center in the NBA, and then after him, could you put Kyle Kuzma over Jamal Murray? You would not.
No.
You'll put Jamal Murray, and then you would put 6 more Lakers players. Right. You would put.
How
like,
dare you hate on Paul Millsap like that?
Oh, by the way, shout out to Paul Millsap, a real legend. Paul Millsap, and Al Horford are two of my favorite NBA players of all time, straight up. Also, my bad, I forgot to say, congratulations to Leandro Barbosa, one of the greatest Brazilian basketball players of all time. He retired a couple days ago. So, shout out to you. Gotta think about the dudes who pushed the game forward, and Barbosa was definitely one of those guys who pushed Brazilian basketball forward. So. Sorry, I know that was random, but shout out to Barbosa.
So let's get your picks here between Heat, Celtics, Lakers, Nuggets.
Yo, man, it's all about that culture, baby. I would go with the Heat just because once again, Martin, root for chaos at all times. We go Heat Lakers in the finals.
Okay.
And that would be lit.
I think no matter what
It's
combination
both
we
matchups
get,
are good.
Yeah,
the one matchup that we'll all hate the most will be Lakers Celtics.
Yeah, obviously,
because
that
not because it'll be It's not because it'll be bad basketball.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it'll be a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago with LeBron with a different team, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And it'll still be good basketball. It's just nobody wants to see those two logos right next to each other.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure ESPN, if that happens, get the lotion ready.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking overload. But if you're asking me, until I see the Heat lose 2 fucking games in a row, or like, I mean,
right. No, I feel you.
I've got a pun. The Heat are on fire in the playoffs. So you got to ride the hot hand, right? The Celtics, they've. It's safe to say they've kind of underperformed in the playoffs a little bit. They kind of struggled in the games that I've been able to watch.
Also, Jimmy's revenge is what we're
Jimmy
all
Butler is just
Jimmy Butler's revenge is what we're all rooting for.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler's revenge on the Sixers, and most importantly, upon Karl Anthony Towns and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
His revenge will be sweet.
If the Lakers win another round 4-1, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna go Nuggets Heat just for because I like to root for chaos. Hopefully. That'd be cool to see two quote unquote smaller markets go against each other.
That's another thing too to talk about this, Martin. Like this playoffs has given us once again. We already knew Portland was for real, right? We already knew Dame was legit. We knew CJ. Well, some people didn't know, but CJ McCollum is the business. Yusuf Nurkic is for real. Look at the Utah Jazz. Rudy Gobert. A lot of people already respected him, right? He was first team All NBA defense. You talk about Utah Jazz and Donovan Mitchell reestablishing that he is legit as fuck, man. Like he is going to be and continue to be better. Looking at Jamal Murray, some people didn't know who Jamal Murray was until these playoffs. Even though he's been good for the last couple of years, he finally took that next step that a lot of people have been waiting for in a clutch situation. So you got to respect him. Jokic, you love to see the small market teams and love to see the small market teams have a legitimate shot, because to argue that, once again, they went out there and they proved it. They won that game 7 versus the Clippers, the big bad LA Clippers, right? With all the first team NBA defensive players, all the first team NBA players, all the all-star games, all that stuff like that. They went out there and they were like, cool, dog.
Yeah. They made them quit. They made the Clippers
no
quit.
Doubt.
Like the Clippers, what was it, a 20-point victory by the end of it when all was said and done?
Oh yeah, they broke them. They broke them.
Yeah, they broke them down. So we're hoping for some two really good series on both sides of the conferences. So let's move along to the NFL Pick'em. Ashton, you got, I believe, 9 picks correct last week. I got one more right than you, 10. I did all my gloating on the Tuesday episode of the show, so I'm not gonna rub it in your face too much that I'm ahead of you by one. But
Y'all
we've
should go
got a
check it out. Go check out the Tuesday episode on Spotify, on Apple
yep,
Podcasts, on Deezer, and Google Podcasts. Check out the replay on Twitch. We
yep.
did it just like this one. You should be able to go watch it. Shout out to everybody who watched. One of our episodes has like 25 views on it. So shout out to whoever clicked on that and checked
Hell
it
yeah.
out retroactively. So yeah,
And it's also the episode is on YouTube. I don't believe I fucked up. I don't know if I tweeted out Tuesday's episode, but it is up on YouTube if you want to go watch it on there as well.
yeah, we've
So
been kids. Martin's been getting real fast with uploading these on
getting
YouTube,
better.
guys.
I'm
So
getting better, but sometimes I'll have it like up like exported on the computer, and it'll just take fucking forever to get on YouTube. But that's on me, nobody else. But let's get into it. The game kicking us off tonight, which kicks off in just over an hour's time. Ashton is a barn burner. Everyone's tuning in. Cincinnati versus Cleveland. I say that lightly because both teams are 0-1. Um, the Browns struggled last week against the Ravens. The Bengals only it was a close game against the San Diego Chargers. So who are you going in the first game?
yo, man, I'm telling you this right now. I'm going with the Cleveland Browns because if they lose this game, it's about time to shut this one down. It's about that time. Because if they falter on this one, man, you can't trust them. Like they can't beat a rookie quarterback off of a team that was almost gutted basically last season, right? AJ Green's playing that should help him out a little bit here and there. Also, still crossing my fingers that T Higgins is gonna be good. We'll see. I'm gonna be crossing my fingers all season that T Higgins pans out. But anyway, yeah, I'm going with the Browns, man.
Okay.
They got some pass rush to them. I'm banking on the offense for the Browns to actually go out there and just light it up. Like just get a free one, go out there and tear it up a little bit, Baker.
All right, Ashton, my quick take on this is I really liked what I saw out of the Bengals in week 1 against the Chargers. Joe Burrow, obviously a rookie quarterback.
Uh,
Here's the thing. If we're doing the list like we did with the NBA conference finals, do you put Joe Burrow over Baker Mayfield at this point, 1 week into his career versus what we've seen from Baker Mayfield? I'm putting Joe
yeah, I
Burrow.
do.
Boom. I'm putting Joe Burrow above Baker Mayfield. I'm going for the Bengals. We are split on this one. The next game on the list, the Atlanta Falcons at 0-1, going up against the Dallas Cowboys in a surprising noon kickoff here.
Yeah, usually the Cowboys find themselves in prime time, but apparently somebody is finally catching on that the Cowboys are not America's team.
Hmm.
But
Those are
yeah,
fighting
so
words in some part of Texas.
yeah, this part of Texas, Houston, for sure. Anyway, so we got the Cowboys going. We got them duking it out with the Falcons. Man, based off the offense that I saw out of the Falcons, it almost makes you want to bank on them going out there and being able to light up the Cowboys defense, which was not good against the porous Rams offense. But no, no, no.
Oh,
It's hard to bet on the Falcons, bro. Like
all
it's
right.
really hard to believe that the Falcons are any sort or any kind of version of good. But it's not in my nature to go against to pick single threat quarterbacks. So I'll be
Hmm.
going with the dual threat and Dak Prescott. I'll pick the Cowboys.
Wow, it's 2 weeks in a row that Ashton is picking the Cowboys to win.
If
Ashton, you.
it's a one possession game in the fourth quarter, I'm gonna turn it off. Like,
They'll be 1-10. But
yeah,
Ashton, you actually said exactly what I was going to say about the Falcons. Their offense actually impressed me last week in that loss to the Seattle Seahawks. The Cowboys have yet to impress. The defense did all right against the Rams. The offense, not impressive at all. I'm actually going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. So we are different on the first 2 games on the list. This next one doesn't really need a lot of talking about. It's probably going to not even be close. Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins.
yeah. Shout out to my boy Fitz. Shout out to Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're rooting for you, dog. Stay safe.
Yes, it is.
I'll be taking the Bills on this one.
Yeah, I'm taking. There's literally there's nothing else to say. The Miami offense isn't that good. The defense seemed to be a little bit improved, but Buffalo, uh, they should go 2-0. I'd be surprised if this one's even within a touchdown. Moving along to a game that is interesting in a way to me. The Giants at the Bears. The Giants completely shit the bed last week. The Bears needed some Trubisky miracles in the fourth quarter against the Lions. Who are you picking in this one?
So we're going. Okay, okay. So, god damn, it's hard to believe in Mitch Trubisky, but I'm calling the Bears going 2-0, baby.
Yeah, I don't see the
Yeah,
Giants.
it's solely off of just how good the Bears defense is, bro.
Yeah.
And combined with the fact that we know their offensive line. But by the way, if you didn't know, when they tallied it all up, Daniel Jones was under the most pressure last week
Hmm.
versus any other quarterback in the NFL. He literally got pressured the most. It was like 54% of his dropbacks he was pressured by a defensive end or somebody. So Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, do your thing.
Yeah, this one. The only reason this won't be a blowout is because of Mitch Trubisky and how soon are we on Big Dick Nick watch? How soon are they going to bring out Nick Foles?
Whew.
It's probably not going to be against the Giants. They should not struggle against the Giants. I don't think there's a single game all year that I'll pick the Giants to win. They'll probably win 2 or 3 games, but as of right now, I mean, I could pull up their schedule, but we're trying to get through this quickly. I don't. I'm probably not going to pick the Giants to win unless they're playing the Jets. If it's New York versus New York, maybe then I'll pick the Giants, but even then I'd have to think about it. Moving along, Pittsburgh going up, or actually Pittsburgh's at home to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, maybe Vic Fangio figured out time management during the week.
Doubt it. It took him 2 press conferences to realize that he actually didn't manage the clock well, like everybody else knew almost immediately after that game was over. So yeah, man, we talked about how the Bears, like, see, once again, this is a matchup between really staunch quarterback. By the way, if you watch that Monday Night Football game with the Steelers, goddamn Ben is, it looked like he warmed that arm up a little bit and he started slinging it around. Also, one thing that probably held them back significantly is the fact that they were still expecting James Conner to be a factor for them. So going into that game, knowing that you shouldn't count on James Conner to be out there for a vast majority of the plays, changes the play calling. I would say,
Mm-hmm.
arguably, with Benny Snell out there. I'm going with the Steelers, man, just because once again they're an overall better team, and that tends to win out. Despite the fact that Drew Lock, he showed a little juice out there, Martin.
I'm a
He had a
big
little gun.
Yep.
He had a little sling. You know, he had that last drive, that last game scoring drive that we thought was going to be the game winner. He slinging it around a little bit.
Yeah, I'm high after seeing Drew Lock live last year against the Texans when the Broncos diced them up on my birthday weekend. I'm in on Drew Lock. I think he's going to be a good. He might not be the best quarterback when his career is over, but he's
He's
going
going
to
to give you
be
a chance.
exactly. He's a quarterback that gives you a chance, and that's all you can ask. But the Steelers are my Super Bowl pick, so I'm going to be picking the Steelers in this one. Moving
Also, if you have Jerry Judy in fantasy, don't start him.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
wouldn't. Yeah, moving along, the Lions 0-1, blew a 26. What was it? 20. They were up 26-3, or I can't remember.
they
23.
allowed 21 points in the
21
fourth
points.
quarter.
Yeah, against the Chicago Bears,
Chicago,
who have Mitch
Chicago
Trubisky at
Bears,
quarterback. Now they have to go up to Lambeau and go up a guy against his name's Aaron Rodgers, I believe.
who finished with like a 95 overall rating from
Yep.
PFF and baptized the Minnesota Vikings. I doubt. See, like, the best part about this one is, Martin, if Kenny Galladay plays, this might be the best game of the entire week
Probably. Yep.
because despite what Matt Patricia tries to do on a regular basis, Matthew Stafford's a very good football player.
Hmm.
And when he gets into a situation where his back's up against the wall, that's when you see him work his magic, baby. He's not clutch all the time, but he makes it exciting. He's like Woody. He's like Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story, falling with style. That's what Matthew Stafford's been doing for almost a decade, falling down, plummeting into the depths of football hell with style. So I'll pick the Packers on this one, but I think this game will be a ton of fun, especially since it's a divisional game. It'll probably be close, and it could come down to a rookie running back catching a pass in the end zone again.
Yeah, that would it'll be interesting to see how often in practice this week DeAndre Swift has caught a wheel route going down the sideline with two
I
defenders near him.
also don't forget, y'all may be talking about that one play where he was out there for that. Kerryon Johnson is the starting running back for the Lions. Don't
Yeah.
forget that.
Moving on, if you had the Jaguars and Titans both winning their games in Week 1, you know more about football than I do because I had both of them losing, and they came back and actually proved me wrong. The Jaguars somehow beat the Colts. They get another division opponent in Tennessee as they travel up to Nashville. Ashton, who are you taking in this one?
Yeah, man, it's tough to go over here. I'm taking the Jags, bro.
Yep.
Fuck that. I just leave. I'm not gonna explain it because I can't. I believe more in Gardner Minshew than I do in Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah,
Because
yep.
Gardner, I mean, boy's working some magic. Although I will say, when Philip Rivers on the other side, he's kind of helping you out a lot.
Well, that a little bit. He can throw some picks, but the Titans, they're only want to know because the head coach on the other side of the field doesn't know what a timeout is. That's the only reason the Titans won that game is
You
because
can stop the clock.
because Vic Fangio, he thought the best play was to take a 50-50 shot at a kick instead of giving his team some time to get the ball back. It is what it is. I was more impressed with the Jaguars beating the
That's why y'all
Colts.
should. All them dudes that talk shit about those football nerds.
Yeah.
If you paid attention to the chart, you would know to call the timeout. But whatever, man. We'll talk about that another day.
Yep.
Probably when Vic Fangio's fired, we can talk about that some other time.
Both of us taking the Jaguars in that one, even though they're on the road. Now we go against the two teams that surprisingly to a lot of people lost in week 1. Minnesota traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. This one again coming down to quarterback play, I think.
Yeah, man. So this is an interesting one because we have Philip Rivers who somehow seemingly sabotages himself on a regular basis, which is actually kind of sad to see because we know Philip Rivers has some juice. He just doesn't consistently put it together. But the Minnesota Vikings, if the defensive play we saw last week continues, I'll take the Colts, dog.
Okay, so you're taking the Colts. Wow.
You gotta throw some upsets in there. I'll go back-to-back AFC South upsets.
Okay, I think I don't know why because they literally showed no fucking reason to pick them last week, giving up all those yards and touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But I'm going with the Vikings simply because I can't believe the Colts lost to the Jaguars. I still am like dumbfounded that happened. So until the Colts prove that they are legitimate, as I thought they were at the start of the season, even though we're only 1 week in, I'm not picking the Colts ever again. Fuck them. Moving along, Los Angeles coming over to the East Coast. The Rams, that is, coming over to the East Coast, take on Philadelphia. The Eagles somehow shit the bed in the second half against the football team. The Rams, meanwhile, held on against the Cowboys. They needed a flag of pass interference on the offense to prevent the Cowboys from even tying it. Which way are you leaning on this one?
Yo, man. Once again, for the Eagles, the injuries are already mounting up, like at a ridiculously high rate, like a crazy high rate. They lost Lane Johnson. They lost their starting right tackle. I think they lost a guard. So it's just hard to sit here, especially when it comes to offensive line play, man. I'm not banking on the Rams' defensive line to be as good as the Washington football team's defensive line because they have Ryan Kerrigan and Chase Young. So we can hope that Carson doesn't go down 8 times in a single game.
Yeah.
I'll take the Eagles, man.
All right.
Just off of that, because I feel like Carson Wentz under less pressure with some talented football players, he can make it happen. I'll be interested to see if the Eagles let Alshon Jeffrey play because they did not let him play last week, if I recall correctly. And it's a weird one. These matchups are so good because based off what we saw in week 1, it's all the shit teams that looked really bad playing the shit teams that looked really bad, and then all the good teams that look decent playing all the teams that look decent. So
yeah, it's this one to me could be the game of the week, just because both offenses could put up some points against the two defenses. But again, when you lose to a team that everyone thinks is bad, I can't pick you until you prove that you aren't that bad. So I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams to start the season 2-0. This next game on the list, Ashton, it's not a question of who's going to win. It's a question of by how many points. The 49ers going up against the New York Jets.
Oh, y'all funny, man. Y'all must have forgot how this game goes. I mean, I'm real tempted to pick the Jets just off the fact that it made too much sense to pick the 49ers.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
you're actually serious?
It seems a little too easy.
It's like 97% of the people on the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em are leaning 49ers.
You're only convincing me with that statistic. You understand that, right?
You're going to go with Sam Darnold and no Le'Veon Bell.
I'm trying to think about the positives that I could spin this with.
There's no positives.
Could Sam Darnold somehow elevate the skill and talent of all of his teammates, including the defensive side of the ball? Or is this just a layup to help the 49ers get on track to work on some shit that they really need to work on, by the way? Shout out to Raheem Mostert, by the way, last week. I saw that touchdown he ran back. That dude is crazy fast. Yep. Yeah, I'll take the 49ers, man.
Yeah, I'm going 49ers.
There's a moment of clarity there.
The spread, I'm trying to find the spread. The over-under is 41. I can't find a point spread.
That sounds 41 like points. That sounds like a big over.
I have a feeling the 49ers might hit that themselves. Moving right along.
No, Martin. We don't. Martin, the 49ers offense is not good, my friend.
But
okay. We'll talk about that later.
We've got the Carolina Panthers going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both teams 0-1, but a lot of people are surprised about just how poor the Buccaneers looked on offense.
Yeah, man, this is Tom Brady versus Teddy Bridgewater out here in terms of the quarterback matchup. Defensive matchup, if you recall, the Panthers played the Las Vegas Raiders last week, and many could argue that they did not perform. Like, the Vegas Raiders are garbage in terms of, like, what they were able to do. Their offense saved them out there. This is a divisional matchup. Chris Godwin's in concussion protocol, by the way, like we said on Tuesday.
Yep.
They may have misassessed just how bad his hit to his head was, but he's in concussion protocol. There's, like, almost no way that he's playing come Sunday. So they're down a key player there, man. And it makes more sense to pick the Buccaneers just off the strength of their defense alone. And the fact that, like we mentioned on Tuesday, Martin, not many teams play offense like the Saints do. Mm-hmm. And one of those teams is probably not the Panthers. So I'll take the Buccaneers off the strength of their defense, not off the strength of one Thomas Brady.
Yeah, this one might be a little bit close. The old adage, closer than the experts think. I was down on the Panthers going into the season. Week 1, they lost, and they lost to the Raiders. I actually liked they impressed me on offense. The defense, they had their issues, but Josh Jacobs looking like a stud running back. So something in me wants to pick the Panthers, but I'm going Tampa Bay, just because they have to. This is another analogy. They have to right the ship at some point, right? Like week 1.
I mean, they don't.
If they don't,
could just lose.
They could tank for Trevor.
Sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, they could tank for Trevor and only have 1 year of Tom Brady. That would be fucking hilarious. But give me the Buccaneers. The next one on the list, Ashton, my pick after week 1 for the NFC representative in the Super Bowl, because they've got the MVP of the league this year and DeAndre Hopkins on offense. Arizona Cardinals going up against Washington Football Team. Both teams 1-0.
So the Arizona Cardinals, poorest defense like we all expected.
What?
Did see one of the bright spots for the 49ers is in that game they lost 24-20. Their defensive line got good pressure on Kyler Murray. Sad part for them is Kyler Murray is not a single threat quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. He's a dual threat.
He's one of the best dual threats in the league.
That second threat allowed him to do the ultimate scamper move and run his ass into the end zone before the defensive backs even realized what was going on. Did you see that when he was running that one rushing touchdown? They were kind of like, yo, like, why is the ball not out yet? And it was like, because it's already in the end zone.
Yep.
Because the quarterback took it into the end zone. That's how fast he is. I'll take, you know what, man? It's hard to pick Dwayne Haskins, to be honest with you. But this is bad defense versus good defense.
I see. And I'll let you make your pick.
Yeah, it's bad defense versus good defense, and maybe it's time to derail the hype train a little bit. Give me the Washington Football Team.
Nope, not here. So here's the thing: you're saying that Arizona played bad defense when they held the 49ers to 20 points.
Did I not also say literally a couple minutes ago that I don't believe the 49ers offense is good? By the way, I just remembered this. George Kittle's probably not playing on Sunday, so good luck with that to everybody who, Anyway.
Hold on.
George Kittle plus Debo. George Kittle and Debo are out because Debo's on IR.
So, in the Super Bowl, with basically the exact same offense, Kansas City held San Francisco to 20 points. Arizona held them to 20 points. So if you think the Chiefs have a bad, or the Cardinals have a bad defense, you should think the Chiefs have a bad defense. If that's how things,
I do. They did have
oh,
a bad defense until they got into the playoffs and got hot.
okay. Well, I've said it on Tuesday's episode. I said it before the season started. I'm all in on Arizona. I don't believe they have a bad defense. I actually think they have a much improved defense. Give me the Cardinals to go 2-0, even though Washington, them going 1-0 and coming back against the Eagles, there. I'm repeating myself from Tuesday. There's something to be said about Ron Rivera and him inspiring the team on the field. But give me the Cardinals. Let's move on to the Chiefs and the Chargers, as the Chargers get to
All
open
right, let's
their
say it
first
in unison, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be
the Ch-
taking
the
the
Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah,
There we
that
go.
one's gonna be easy. Unfortunately, the Chargers are probably gonna lose their first home game at their new stadium. So we move along to.
Luckily, there won't be any fans there.
Well, there's no Chargers fans anyway, so they're not missing out on much. What's going to be interesting is, so like, the Chargers were in that soccer stadium, right, Ashton? And they couldn't even fill that up with their own fans. How are they going to fill up SoFi? It's going to be all the away fans, right? Like, once fans are allowed back in,
I mean, it was all away fans at the other place
that's
too.
what I'm saying. Is it not going to be the same thing when the Chargers have a home game? Like, it's ridiculous. But we move along to the last of the Sunday or afternoon games. That is, I was gonna laugh and make a joke, but let's just get right into it. The Ravens coming to Houston to take on the Texans.
Yeah, I'll take the Texans.
Are you serious?
Yes.
You got to give a reason, bro. That is, you, you're smoking that reefer right now, aren't you? We need Ashton to piss in a cup right now.
So, all right. It'll take a couple of things that I feel like they're capable of, right? The tackling's been optional at times when it comes to the Texans, but I will say this. Stopping the run game goes a long way into stopping the complete offense of the Baltimore Ravens from like top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in the Texans' ability to stop the run game. That may or may not be disproven, but I believe in their ability to stop the run game. My biggest concern is going to be the pass protection up front, right? Because that's what's going to prevent the turnovers. The second the turnovers happen, it drops it down to like 2% of this likelihood of this situation happening overall. But for the most part, I believe in the Texans offense to be able to get some kind of progress going. On top of that, I like the versatility of the plays that I saw on Monday Night Football, and I get it. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Guess who's not the Kansas City Chiefs? The Baltimore Ravens. They're a totally different team. I'm interested to see how this shakes out, and there's very few times that I actually pick against the Texans, dude. This is how it is. Because they're that weird French team, and like that vast majority of the time when they're not playing the elite of the elite in the NFL, they're probably going to win the game more often than not. And when they play against like elite top tier teams, why not pick them? You know what I mean? They're a team that, I get it, they typically play out the way that they normally do. They're not a team that's prone for getting upsets or anything like that, but they wouldn't be an upset if it happened all the time. So I'm banking on the offense to play a little bit better, and I'm banking on the defense to stop the run. Didn't say anything about the pass game.
All right, so all I've got to say is, do you remember November 17th, 2019, which is just a little less than a year ago?
You talking about last year, man.
I'm
Why you always
talking
bringing
about
up
the
past?
41-7 bashing when the Texans had a better offense than they do right now. I'll be surprised if they score more than 7 points in this game. Give me the Ravens. Give me everything about them. The Texans are going 4-12 this year. They probably won't win a game before the bye week. They are not very good. I can't disagree with you more on what we saw from the offense than what you just said. It's lackluster. There's nobody that causes a threat to the Ravens. The Ravens have 3 stud cornerbacks. I mean, they got Marcus Peters, who could be the second or third best player in their secondary. Texans, on the other hand, don't even have a secondary. Hollywood Brown is going to probably torch them for 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
See, that's the problem. That's the unlikely part to me. Banking on the Ravens pass offense to just kill people, that's the unlikely part to me.
Okay.
I saw Jordan Reed make a great defensive play versus like I said, like the vast majority of the plays that killed the Texans were all short yardage plays. And I don't know if it's because the Chiefs didn't feel comfortable throwing the football down the field, which is hard to believe with Patrick Mahomes. So it makes me think the back end of the defense may be doing something that doesn't look all that hospitable to throwing deeper down the field.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
I just can't. What I saw from the offense and what you saw of the
Cool.
offense, two totally different things, and that's what makes
Five
this
wide
show
receiver
fucking
sets,
awesome.
baby.
That's why I like getting into the conversations with Ashton because we have two totally different outlooks on literally everything.
One
And
of us is crazy, and then one of us is Martin.
yeah, sometimes I'm a little crazy myself in some of the things I believe, like being all in on the Arizona Cardinals, but you got to go with your heart sometimes. And my heart says the Houston Texans are
Speaking of
struggling this year.
speaking of my heart, the
Yeah,
Patriots and the Seahawks. It's pretty simple here, ladies and gentlemen. The soon-to-be Super Bowl champions of this season of the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks, will be handing Cam Newton and the Patriots their first L.
yeah. This game is the one I'm paying the most attention to, not only because it's in prime time, but if the Seahawks can do against the Patriots defense what they did last week, watch out. Ashton might just be right on how good Seattle is this year. However, give me the Patriots.
All right. I'm about it. I mean, I can see this game going either way. I will say, was not encouraged by the performance that the Patriots put on versus the Dolphins. That's just me. Maybe the Dolphins' defense has significantly improved, but the fact that they couldn't just even though there's certain types of games that you can watch where the other team really doesn't have like a legitimate chance to actually come back into it because of the domination from one team to the other, and the score doesn't reflect that. I'll bank on the Seahawks being clutch before I decide on Cam being clutch.
I think, but obviously both teams have good defenses. I just think Bill Belichick loves him a chess match. And if you, I don't know if you saw it or not.
Oh, it's not a chess match out here, baby. It's a track race.
I don't know if you saw.
It's a 100-meter dash. No,
Did you see what Bill Belichick said about Russell Wilson?
No, it's probably something really nice.
What he basically said, Russell Wilson is the best player in the league right now.
I mean,
Like
he is,
I'm paraphrasing, but
nobody's ready to have that conversation.
No,
guys, we're talking about like Russell Wilson is what you hope Lamar Jackson continues to become. Like if Lamar Jackson becomes Russell Wilson, whatever team he is on will be unstoppable. And I get it, the Seahawks have done a great job of putting together a fantastic roster from top to bottom, but just saying, man. Just saying, man. Mr. Unlimited.
I just
there's a method to the madness.
I for whatever reason I liked what the Patriots did on offense last week. So give me what I think's the better defense, even though half their players are out. I don't know. No.
I respect that. Going with the defense will usually bode well for you. I respect that.
Yeah, give me Bill Belichick. Last game on the list.
Wow, last game. Whew.
Monday Night Football
versus Las Vegas on Monday Night Football. Give me the old man. Give me the old man Drew Brees, man. And once again, off the strength of the defense of the Saints, baby. Like I feel like there's just like it was last year, a lot of people didn't give them the credit they deserve. Because quite frankly, when Teddy Bridgewater was out there and refused to throw the ball downfield, the reason they were successful was not only because of Alvin Kamara and
Latavius Murray.
Latavius Murray. I was like, DeMarco Murray. That's not the right Murray. Latavius Murray, their ability to control the clock and then the defense holding it down for him. I'll take it 10 times out of 10, baby, like straight up. So give me the Saints, man, on that one.
I agree with you. However, the Saints aren't going to have Michael Thomas, and we haven't seen how their offense functions. I mean, they did all right with him only getting 3 targets and 1.
It's going to be a great day for people who might or people who do or do not possibly, maybe, definitely have Emmanuel Sanders in their fantasy league.
Yeah, that one's going to be an interesting pick. However, this is Las Vegas opening their new stadium. As we saw last week, the NFL is going to do everything they can to have the home team start with a W in their new stadium. So for that being said, even though other picks I've said I'd pick the better defense, I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders. Technically going with an upset, I believe, because the Saints are the favorites. in that one, but for some reason, something tells me Las Vegas is going to win in their home opener. So those are our picks. We disagree on quite a few. We've only got one thing left to do, Ashton. We've got 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes if we want to do this episode under 3 hours. It's the UFC
We
nickname
got it.
picks.
We're at 2 hours and 33 minutes right now.
Okay.
We're gonna get this one done real fast. UFC nickname picks. If you don't know the drill around here, we don't give you hard hitting UFC MMA analysis. We go out of our way to make our selections a little differently. Great fighters can be defined by great names, great nicknames. That is, having a great nickname is 50% of the fight. And we believe that wholeheartedly here on the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. That's why we only select winners on UFC cards by how dope their nickname is. Martin has been killing it in this one. I think he's up 10 wins to the losses that he's picked up here.
Yep.
He's got a couple of upset wins mixed in there. He had Michelle Watterson in that final fight last night, which I think made him 4-1 on the night.
I think it was
3-2.
I think it was 3-2.
3-2 again. 3-2 on that one. A lot of 3-2 nights, not a lot of losing nights. I'll say that much. So we got here starting off at the bottom here. By the way, the main. We'll talk about the main event and how it's interesting.
We started the show talking about the main event.
We did. Jerome the Renegade Rivera. It's one of the names. That's our first fight of the night here. He's a 5'2" dude from Santa Fe, New Mexico. He is fighting Tyson Nam, who we actually mentioned earlier in quarantine. Tyson Nam is from Portland, Oregon. He's 19-11 in his career.
No nickname, so
we got we got a disqualification here. TJ the Truth Laramie.
Oh, come on. That's Paul Pierce.
Yeah. We got a disqualification on that one. Canadian dude, 12-3. Looks like he's a pretty good fighter, though. This is another one here. Derek Minor. He does not have a nickname. Moving on, we have another one. Erwin the Beast Rivera.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, a little generic there. We can't really help on that one. Andre Mr. Highlight Ewell.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, from Riverside, California. He's 16-6 on his career. He fights out of Apex. That's pretty good.
Mr.
Move on
Highlight.
to the next one. Journey Newsom, which is just a dope name, does not have a nickname, but he is fighting Randy the Zohan Costa.
Okay.
Don't mess with the Zohan.
I was just about to say.
5-1 on his career. He is from Taunton, Massachusetts. So, shout out to him, the Zohan himself. This is a couple of ladies right here. Sarah Too Sweet Alpar.
Okay.
She's from Amarillo, Texas, so we got to root for her no matter what. She's from the dark side of Texas, as we like to go. I'm just kidding. American Elite MMA is where she fights out of. An Amarillo gal. If you don't know what part of Texas it is, don't worry about it. Jessie Jess Rose Clark is her nickname. She's from Queensland, Australia. She's from Australia.
Down under.
So she came a long ways away to be right here with us. Syndicate MMA is who she fights for. 9-6 in her career so far. Moving on. Our next fight here, we have David the Undertaker Dovark. By the way, does that count?
I was literally just about to say, because
it's technically the name of the wrestler.
Yeah, it's not his nickname. I like it. I'm going with it.
It's a really generic MMA nickname.
Yeah, it is kind of generic, but now I like it. Because we've been so far we've been a little light on the good ones, so.
I will say this, dudes from the Czech Republic.
Okay.
If that wets your beak a little bit there, Martin. 18-3. He is fighting Jordan Espinosa, who I think we mentioned earlier. He does not have a nickname. We mentioned him earlier in quarantine. He's from Findlay, Ohio, here in the United States.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, this is one we mentioned before, too. Maravilla Romero Borella.
Did we ever figure out what Maravilla means?
We did not. I'm going to leave that up to you as I talk about her right here. She is actually one of the few Italian fighters in the UFC. So shout out to her representing the boot. 11 and not the boot here in America, but the other boot, the fancier boot, the Italian one. 11 and
it means really quickly. It means wonder. Maria
Ma,
Wonder.
yeah,
Or
Maravilla
okay,
Romero Borea. There you go.
solid Italian name right there.
Yeah, no doubt. Like she's got all the cursive. I get that name can only be written in cursive when you say it out loud. We got another long one here, but she's Brazilian, and I feel like this is a winner on multiple levels here for you, Martin. Um, I don't know how to say the city she's from. She's from Brazil, so it is Uberlandia, Minas Gerais, Brazil, which is the state. She's a shoot the box gal. Her name is Myra Shitara Bueno Civi, Silva. Sorry. Myra Shitara Bueno Silva. Shitara, of course, a member of the Thundercats.
Yeah, that I was just about to.
Legendary.
Yeah,
5-1 in her career, the Thundercats.
Thundercats. Oh, I'm
She has the
all in,
leopard print.
all
Yeah,
in.
hopefully she does the face paint. That would be pretty dope.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Um, Moving on here, this is Damon I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Damon the Leech Jackson. He's from Dallas, Texas. So, fuck Dallas, but we root for this guy because he's from Texas. For this MMA, 17-3. He's got one draw and one no contest. By the way, there was a fighter last week who got kicked in the ball so hard he had to go to the hospital. He won the fight, though.
Yeah.
Worst way to win an MMA bout ever. You got kicked in the ball so hard that
It was a DQ,
yeah.
right?
It was a DQ for the other guy because he
Yeah.
kicked him like it was a straight kick and it would look like he punted his nuts into his throat.
Yeah.
So this guy's from Lincoln, Nebraska. It's Mirsad Bektik. TriStar, which is where the legend himself, GSP, trains out of. So 13-3. Yes, he does not have a nickname. He's the one who's fighting Damon the Leech Jackson. We move on to our other fight here. Jeremiah Wells. He is from West Hazleton, Pennsylvania. He fights out of Renzo Gracie gym in Philadelphia. He's also Extreme Evolution. So shout out to him on that one. He does not have a nickname. Get one of those kids. Get to work on that. How are we gonna get this branding? How are we gonna get this branding popping? This is a good one. Miguel Caramel Thunder Biza. He's from Davie, Florida, of all places. So Miguel Caramel Thunder Beza.
Okay.
Moving on. This is fight number 10. This is a familiar name, Martin. This is your countryman, the dentist, Darren Stewart. If you remember his fight, he actually beat the fuck out of the guy he was fighting.
Yep.
He's from London. Darren the dentist Stewart. He's 12-5 with one no contest. He fights out of the MMA clinic.
Moving on, his opponent. Really quickly, the dentist nickname. That would be. It's not like a fear one. It's like a. All right, why the fuck is this guy? It's like why is this guy named the dentist?
Yeah, so this is another guy we're familiar with too. He actually is from Fort Worth, Texas, which is Dallas extended, right? Kevin Trailblazer Holland. Remember he's the guy who he's the one who had the panic attack, right?
I think maybe
because the Dallas guy was supposed to fight the Houston guy, and the Dallas guy had a panic attack backstage before he was supposed to come out. So if we're misprescribing that situation, we're sorry. Kevin Trailblazer Holland on that one. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Had a little error there. Moving on. Rhonda Quiet Storm Marcos is in our next fight. She's from Windsor, Ontario. She fights for Michigan top team. Her opponent, familiar name, Mackenzie Dern, who does not have a nickname, but is an MMA vet even in her short career. She's got 8 wins. 5 of them are by submission.
I know for a fact she beat one of our favorite, Shockwave. I remember it was Shockwave.
Mackenzie Dern versus Shockwave is kind of a layup. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
No disrespect. Shockwave, one of our favorites, straight up.
She just fought too many times during quarantine, but
really, unfortunately, she fought like 4 times in quarantine. Got that money though.
The only reason I like Quiet Storm is the nickname. I'm just not picking her because she's going up against Mackenzie Dern, and Mackenzie Dern is the real deal, folks.
For real though. Like she's 8-1, and if you've seen her fight, you know what the deal is. Like, she shouldn't be on this card that low. Like, not gonna lie, I don't know how she has to be higher up on the card, and it's just out of order. We got Ryan Superman Spawn.
That's another one. Is it?
Does it count? Who's the person you're thinking of? Shaq?
Oh, I was thinking Superman.
Nah.
Clark Kent. He's got the. I'm looking at it. I just brought up a picture here of Ryan Spann. He's actually got the S on his chest.
Yeah, I saw that. He literally has the S on his chest.
He's also from Beaumont.
So I'll give a letter. Yeah, he's from Beaumont, Texas. So I'll give him credit for that one. He's a 29-year-old dude from Beaumont, Texas, and looks like this is his first UFC fight. Is he 6'5"?
6'5", 205.
Holy shit! Light heavyweight 605.
No, he's fought in the UFC a couple of times.
Okay.
1, 2.
Oh, he's
3,
fighting the
4.
guy that I know pretty well here, Johnny Walker.
Yep.
Johnny Walker's really good. He fought at the beginning of quarantine. Yeah, he got tuned up pretty bad, but he's a good fighter. But yeah, he's fighting Johnny Walker. He doesn't have a nickname because his name is Johnny Walker.
We're gonna pull for Ryan Spann, but the Superman nickname just not enough to pick it on nickname alone. But we're gonna pull for him for being from Beaumont.
Beaumont has Beaumont hard extended there out of Houston.
Yeah.
This is Gerald Meerschaert for the 15th time in quarantine. GM3. He's fighting. He is fighting the man with the plan, Khamzat Bors Chimaev.
Yep.
If you don't know what Bors mean, it means werewolf.
Yep. We've talked about him a couple of times. He is.
Yeah.
His debut in the UFC was fucking impressive, and then what was it? The second fight he's had a week later, 10 days later it was. Yeah. The guy didn't throw a fucking punch at him.
It was a dude that got put on there short notice. To his credit, he's a dude that had a lot of hype behind him, and hopefully they give him another opportunity, but he literally could not get off a strike because Khamzat swarmed him and smothered him that quickly. But the next one, Nico, the hybrid Price.
Okay.
From Cape Coral, Florida. Not Cape Canaveral. He is fighting Donald Cowboy Cerrone, a crowd favorite, the people's champ, if you will.
He hasn't won a fight in like over a year, by the way.
Yeah, man, it's been pretty brutal for Donald Cerrone.
Though to his credit, his last 4, I mean, Anthony Pettis he lost to, McGregor, Justin Gaethje, and Tony Ferguson. Like, if you're gonna lose to 4 fighters,
3 guys who are consistently in the running for a championship.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to Donald. He's still going, but I'm unfortunately not going to pick either of those guys because
I got to give a shout out to his training facility because he kind of trains himself. He has his own ranch that he has like powered by like propane and stuff like that. It's called the BMF Ranch, and it is, as you suspected, bad motherfucker ranch. Yeah. So, yeah.
And now let's get this is the next one's the main event, correct?
Yep, next one's main event here. So, this is Tyron. I always say Tywin for some reason.
Tywin Lannister.
Tyron, the Chosen One, Woodley. And his opponent is Colby Chaos Covington.
Say it with conviction, Ashton. This one is a fight that both you and I and fight fans of the UFC have been waiting on for a while. This one is what you call a bad blood. They don't like each other. For those that are listening to the show and don't really know why Colby Covington is as popular or as disliked as he is, he's basically a wrestler in UFC colors. He has a persona. It is 100% to piss off certain people, and he has done that almost masterfully. He wears the "Make America Great Again" hat. He's.
It's funny that you think it's an act, but okay.
Yeah, Ashton and I have talked about this off screen. He claims it's an act, but where does the line end between an act and?
If you get a chance to listen to any of, not you, Martin, but just people in general, if you get a chance to listen to his stuff, any of his stuff with Ariel Helwani, it is a wrestling promo.
Yeah, it is. He knows what he's doing. He knows. And the thing
he's recently been kicked out of his own gym because he's that much of a douchebag. Like Jorge Masvidal fights in his gym.
Yep.
And they like, believe it or not, Jorge gets down with the same stuff that Colby does. So that's a lot for him to be like, fuck you and get out. He threatened to fight Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who is a title contender at one point. He like threatened to fight her on Twitter, which is
weird
and cowardly is the term I
just
think
a
that
little
comes
bit.
to mind. He
Here,
threatened to fight a woman who's half his size and half his weight. So, yeah.
Here's the thing, Ashton.
Yeah.
We pick the main event no matter the nicknames, right?
Hey, you pick you no matter what. I'm gonna tell you, it's a 50-50 chance that I make that graphic if you pick Colby.
I
I'm
don't.
Just saying.
Here's the thing. When Tyron fought Gilbert Burns earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
I'm on tape of saying I'm not the biggest Tyron Woodley fan.
I think I lost a lot of he lost a lot of cachet with me as well, man. I admit that. I was like, that's the worst I've ever seen him look. Hands down.
He's one of those, like, you and I have been, or at least we've been in a disagreement on certain fighters, but Tyron Woodley for me goes into the category of he fights for the judges. He doesn't fight to win.
And to his credit, that style did get him the belt at one point and allowed him to beat Wonder Boy twice. So
it did. He definitely all the success. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 6 fights have all been decisions, and I don't like that. I'm sorry. That's not a fighter that I like to support.
Quarantine judges are weird. Quarantine judges are weird.
Oh, they're really weird. But on the other side of the thing, Colby Covington, very fucking similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 6 have went to the judges as well. His only loss on that one is getting knocked the fuck out by Kamaru Usman. I'm not picking Colby Covington. They put out a story saying that he finally figured out that he's not a southpaw or he's switching stances for this fight, and it's like, bro, like you couldn't have figured
the side of the broken jaw. I'm sure.
Like you couldn't have figured that out like earlier in your career that you're not a southpaw, like even if you are left-handed.
Wait, what if I just did everything backwards?
I'm not confident in it. Just because I'm not the biggest Woodley fan. I'm just not. But I'm picking Tyron Woodley to beat Colby Covington in the main event. We've been looking forward to this fight. It's a bad blood fight, so I'm hoping it doesn't go. Even though these guys, both of the 5 of their past 6 fights have went to the judges, really, really hoping that it doesn't go to the judges and one of them gets the knockout or maybe a submission. Who knows? But yeah, give me Tyron Woodley in the main event just because. I've never really been impressed by Colby Covington at all. So in any fight that I've seen him in Tyron Woodley, I just don't like the way he fights. So it's too negative. It's two whatevers. And I mean, when your whole career or your recent success, quote unquote success in your career, is based off of being an act, I don't like fake people. I mean, we can say that it's real and it's an act at the same time, but. Give me Tyron Woodley. You know what you're getting out of him. He's a former champion. So is Colby Covington, apparently. But, yeah, give me Tyron Woodley. So this is my 5 picks for nicknames this week, Ashton, as we round out the show. Andre, Mr. Highlight Yule. I kind of like that. It doesn't strike fear or anything. But if you call yourself a highlight reel, you better be putting on a show. Myra Shitara Bueno Silva, just because the Thundercats were literally my favorite cartoon growing up. Miguel Caramel Thunder Baeza. That's going back to Coconut Bombs. If anyone remembers me picking Coconut Bombs.
By the way, Mikolo is good though. I like him. I learned a lot about a lot of good fighters in quarantine from this game that we're playing. Just like I'm invested in fights and I don't have to even put money down. So I like it a lot.
Last 2 here. Kamzat Boris Chimaev. That guy is on a different planet.
The Warwolf.
This opponent's a little bit better than his first 2 opponents, so he's finally getting a step up. But
GM3's a beast, man. He's been around for a long, long time, so he's not gonna fall for any of this stuff.
And doesn't he have isn't it like a 2-fight contract? If he beats GM3, he's already guaranteed another fight in a couple of weeks. Or did I read that wrong?
I think that's all dependent upon what happens to him in the fight.
Okay.
Because if he gets a medical suspension, he could be told that he can't fight for 3 months.
That's true. But I could have swore I read somewhere like it's this fight and another fight.
He has a multi-fight contract for sure.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But I think I read somewhere it's a weird thing. Like it's almost like like I don't
He's
even know how to
probably like that.
explain it.
Remember when Super Sage was popping off and he
Mm.
fought like every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks or something like that? Maybe it's like that.
Like I want to say I read somewhere that there's already another fight lined up for Chimaev, and
Oh, I'm sure.
this is just another
Oh,
one. But
by the way, side note on this one. Sorry if any of these fights get canceled before we get to actual
yeah,
fight time. Like that's not, that happens all the time. Also, side note on this one, Martin. Fuck you, Dana White. Back up to your bullshit, man. This is an example of a bad person who does good things. Dana White put a message out on the UFC social media account, his social media account that has like 1.1 million followers, in support of a young man who protested, I believe it was in Iran, against the government that is like the dictatorship that he lives in. He's a fighter, and then he stood up to the government, and they arrested him, and he was set to be executed. Dana White tried to make a push on social media to make something happen. I respected the hell out of that because he was trying to save a man's life. And I was like, this dude literally stood up for, he tried to stand up for freedom and he tried to stand up for equality, and they took his life for it. That's the world. That's the kind of horrible world that we live in, right? And Dana White made an effort to go out there and be like, no, we support this guy, and we're trying to do everything we can to make sure that he sees freedom once again. And that did not happen. If you watched last week's fight night, Bobby Green found out about it during or like right before his fight, and it messed him up pretty bad. Bobby King Green, one of our show favorites for sure when it comes to picks, was really messed up about it because it was somebody that Dana White stuck his neck out to try and protect. I do not agree with most of the things that Dana White does, including the stuff that he's doing right now, where he offered fighters money for title fights and it's not enough money. So his go-to excuse is that guy doesn't want to fight. There's been multiple people who have taken the photos of every time Dana White says that guy doesn't want to fight, and it's literally anytime he's in negotiation with any fighter, which is hard to believe that a professional fighter doesn't want to fight, especially when it's you get paid per event. So it makes no sense for you not to want to fight.
yeah.
Dana White does it as a negotiation tactic because he has the ear of the media. He has the power of ESPN behind him now. He has the power of being. He is like if Roger Goodell is the general manager of every NFL team. I just want you to think about that. I just want to point it out when he fucks up, and I also want to point out when he does something cool, like supporting a man who tried to stand up for freedom.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, last fight, I already said it out loud, but we're going Tyron, the chosen one, Woodley to round it out. So we've got a great card up for this weekend, and then next weekend is Fight Island, apparently. Going back to Abu Dhabi, we are all in on everything that happens in Abu Dhabi, Ashton. Another
Get the
great
sandals,
episode.
baby.
Hell
Get
yeah.
the beach towels. Get the Mai Tais popping.
Look, Dana, UFC, Ashton and I, if you need some reporters, somebody to cover the fights,
Especially after I just totally dissed you on this podcast. Please
hey,
let me know.
I didn't say it, Dana. I'm just saying, Dana knows how to work the business. If you need two people to cover your UFC event in Abu Dhabi, you can give me a call or hit me up on Twitter at @MartinPape_. You can hit Ashton up on Twitter FB_playbook. Follow the show Broke Boy Pod. You can get us at twitch.tv/BrokeBoySports. You can get us on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple, just about anywhere you can download a podcast. We're available. Ashton, another great episode in the books. You got anything else to say?
Only thing I can think to say is make sure you have fun watching football. Don't just be mad or angry or sad at the world all the time. Sometimes you just got to enjoy the games for what they are. Don't think everything has to be some hot take or anything like that. Other than that, there's only one thing left to say, Martin.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Martin's got something.
We do have something to say. Got kickoff coming up between the Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. And if you want to get in on some of the fantasy action Thursday nights and on Sundays, go ahead and download the Thrive Fantasy app. Use the code BrokeBoy when you put $20 down. You'll get $20 straight back. A couple of the props for tonight's game: Joe Burrow, total of 240.5 passing yards, and then Baker Mayfield 2.5 total combined touchdowns and interceptions. An interesting one on that one. Looks like Thrive is throwing a little shade at Baker Mayfield, but he's kind of deserved it. So go on there, hashtag prop up. It's not just a regular fantasy like you would play on another site. This one is all about the props. Get in there, it downloaded. If you would like to get involved, Thrive Fantasy, code BROKEBOY, $20 down, get you $20 straight back. They're also doing a refer a friend, where if you refer somebody onto the site, you get an extra bonus. So go ahead and check that out while you can. Shout out to the guys everybody over at Thrive Fantasy, making sure that we enjoy the football season with some props.
And only one thing left to say after that, for real this time. Wash your hands, wash your ass. Don't just wash your hands, wash your whole body. And stay home, Roger.